of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sauter Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at SauterHeyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Hey guys, Nick Sainert here. Join me live from Arlington, Texas, this Friday through Sunday as 93.7 The Ticket covers Husker Baseball's appearance in the Amagi Bank College Baseball Series. I'll have pregame and postgame videos on the Ticket social media pages, as well as commentary throughout Friday's 3 p.m. game versus Louisville, Saturday's 7 p.m. game against Kansas State, and Sunday's 2:30 p.m. game against Florida State. Our coverage from Arlington is sponsored by Diode Technologies, Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, and Chick-fil-A South Point Pavilions.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox, KFXL Weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day. It'll be breezy and mild with an afternoon high of 65. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, continued breeze, a low around 32. And tomorrow, a chance of rain and snow showers throughout the day. It'll be breezy and colder, a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Kyle Plucker for 93.7 The Ticket and TicketFM.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
93.7 The Ticket Sports News go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. Last night in Iowa City, the Nebraska men's basketball team dropped a road contest to the Iowa Hawkeyes in a 57-52 ball game. In the loss, Price Sanford led the Cornhuskers offense with 13 points and set the record for most three-point shots made in a single season at the University of Nebraska. The Cornhuskers are now 22-4 overall on the season and returns to Pinnacle Bank Arena on Saturday, February 21st to battle Penn State with tip-off set for 1 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Northern Illinois head coach Thomas Hammock has accepted a job to become the next running backs coach and senior offensive assistant for the Seattle Seahawks. He's expected to become one of the highest-paid running backs coaches in the NFL. Hammock spent 7 seasons with Northern Illinois, leading the Huskies to 3 bowl games and a record of 35-47 during that span. Kyrie Irving will miss the remainder of the NBA season as he continues to recover from knee surgery last March. Irving, who had surgery last March to repair a torn left ACL, has not played this season for the Dallas Mavericks. The 9-time All-Star is expected to return for the 2026-2027 NBA season. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln. This is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped and picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Hour 1 of Old School is sponsored by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Old School with Foreman and Orman. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Oh, home sweet home. The 402. How I missed you. It was good to be back for about 14 hours before hitting the road again. But here we are. It is Old School. I'm Austin. He is Nick. Brought to you by, like you just heard, Graham Tire Company. 4 locations here in Lincoln, proudly serving the Midwest for 75 years. Tell you more about them throughout the course of the show. But as always, you can join the show, 402-464-5685. Nick, you said it on Twitter. I'll reiterate it here on air. 4.5 hours in a car one way. About, what would it be? An hour and change, hour and a half apart.
Since we got
Old
back?
School.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday. Yes.
Then another 5 hours together.
There we were.
Slept in our separate hotel rooms,
Yes.
got breakfast, then we're in the car for another 4.5 hours, and we're here at the station. So, you know what? What's another 3 hours on top of all that?
That's exactly it. I said it right before I walked into the studio. I said, Austin, we've spent a large portion of the last 24 hours together. Why not spend 3 more? And it means a lot that we haven't gotten tired of each other yet. So, you know who I am tired of? Eric on the text line.
Is Eric already popping off?
Eric, it's great to hear you. It's
man.
great to see you. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, though. The perks of the 4.5 hour drive, Austin, we've been able to dissect and figure out exactly what topics we want to discuss.
We will have our show. No, this is not recorded from our conversation in the car, but if the NSA was listening and they're listening again, it will probably be a repeat for those of you in that office. Before we get into that, though, Nick, in the upset of the day, we saw Jay Foreman on his birthday.
We did.
See, you and I have spent plenty of time together in this last day. I was not expecting to see Jay, but it says a lot about how Jay thinks of us, how much he enjoys us and appreciates us, that on his birthday, a day that we told him ahead of time, take the day off, Jay. We got it. We got plenty to talk about. We got you. Now, not just your Tuesday day off, but your Wednesday day off. We're here. Jay Foreman just couldn't stay away. He loves us so much. On his birthday, he needed to stop down and say hi.
He did. It's great. It is great to see Jay. He excused the excuse that he has had a downtown meeting. It
was a rendezvous with his two
He
favorites.
did let me know, at least he probably told you too, where he was going for dinner tonight.
Very Jay Foreman.
Very much right up his alley. However, it is not in the capital city, so he's got to drive a little bit. But yeah, he'll be enjoying his dinner tonight, I'm sure.
We hope so. Happy birthday to Jay. Cubsker, crazy how much you've made it up to Austin after he filled in for AD that one morning, Nick.
Yeah, well, there's going to be stuff coming up. It's a busy couple of weeks. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago when you filled in for AD. It's going to be a crazy couple of weeks. You were in Arizona for a couple of days, got back for one day. We drove to Iowa then, not even one day.
Yeah,
it was a couple hours.
Yeah.
Then today we get back. Tomorrow I fly out to Arlington for Husker baseball tomorrow, and they practice at 9 p.m.
Woo!
So it actually works out perfect. They practice at Globe Life Field at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. So I think I land shortly after 6 p.m. down there. Get the car or get the Uber down there, and we'll be at Globe Life Field for practice at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. But big weekend there. We have LA coming up next the following weekend for Nebraska basketball's West Coast trip. What a fun job and lucky job we are.
Times after that.
Yeah.
See if we're out and about, or of course we'll be down at PBA for high school state basketball.
That's right. I got
Just around the
confirmation.
corner.
I got verbal confirmation from Austin that he is willing to call games with me this year.
It's true.
This year again. So here we are.
I was honored to be invited back to the call. I really was.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time.
Eric will read this just because you chimed in. Why couldn't you just leave Nick in Iowa where he belongs? Well, we were on the home stretch. We're almost home, and someone needed a bathroom break. So you know what? If I was going to do it, it would have been this guy that didn't want to power through the last 75 minutes.
There was we were over an hour, man. I had a large coffee this morning. I was dying. I thought, man, if this was a 30, if there was 30 minutes left in the drive, I would have been able to. But why be miserable when I just wanted to spend more time with Austin?
It's true. So no, didn't leave you. Didn't really plan on it. Thought crossed my mind, but it was in and out like the
Here's
coffee,
the thing. There's so many better places you could have left me than Council Bluffs. That would have been out of places on the way to Iowa City you can leave me, Council Bluffs would be pretty low on the list.
Ahead of or behind Newton, Iowa?
Oh, way behind Newton, Iowa. I have fond memories in Newton, Iowa. Pointed them out every time we passed the racetrack.
Both times. Yep.
No, we passed it about 4 times. No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's dive into the purpose for the trip. Nebraska men's basketball, 5-point losers to Iowa, 57-52. Anything changed with a night to sleep on the result, Nick? Now about 21 hours old.
No, I don't think so. I felt
19,
like
I can do math.
Yeah, I felt like. I mean, here's the thing, Austin. I just it was disappointing. I think Nebraska, even with a night to sleep on it, it felt like they got. I always feel awkward saying this phrase, out physicaled. They lost the physicality battle, and over these last 5 games or so, I've started to gain more concern for whether or not they're going to be able to hold up the rest of the regular season. I have less concern about postseason opportunities, but I think that we've been preaching and hoping and screaming from the rooftops behind these microphones for the last couple of days that you need guys to step up, and in games where, like last night, where you just struggled to find the bottom of the net and you just needed a bucket, Austin, you didn't necessarily know who to turn to. And we've seen that, when that happened against Michigan or Purdue, more so Purdue than Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, and now, Iowa last night, it was almost like, okay, that's uncharacteristic for them, right? Because it's always been, let's just try to get Price Sanford the ball, get Rink Mass the basketball. But last night, especially in the first half, there were moments where, they were early in the shot clock going to Cale Jacobson. And that's nothing against Cale. That's just not his role. Right. And so ultimately, like, the concern for Nebraska and who can step up when they just need a bucket or need to just calm the waters, it's starting to rise just a little bit for me.
It was Price Sanford and Jamarcus Lawrence leading the way for Nebraska in scoring. They combined for 24. Sanford had 13. Lawrence had 11. But like you said, Nick, neither one of those guys were really able to step up in those moments where Nebraska was teetering. For Sanford, you can give credit to some pretty good defense from Bennett Sturtz, one of the few guys in the Big Ten, who probably runs about as much as Price Sanford, even if it's not quite the same. Bennett Sturtz leads the Big Ten Conference in minutes played per game. He didn't come off the floor yesterday, in large part thanks to a timeout from Ben McCollum. After Frager contested a layup after a really bad pass that he made cross court. Sturtz went up for a layup. Frager contested. Sturtz went down pretty hard, and McCollum immediately calls timeout. You noted it was for him to talk to the officials.
Yeah.
I noted Sturtz stayed down for a minute, and if he was going to be injured, they need a timeout to put him back into the game if he had to stop play for it. But that's a guy that led all scorers with 25 points on 22 shots. Nebraska did a pretty darn good job on Bennett Sturtz, making his life tough. But part of that was Jamarcus Lawrence picked up a few fouls, 2 of them in the first half, and then another one in the second half. And we were talking about this on the drive, not your show, but the drive back from Iowa City.
Yeah.
When Jamarcus Lawrence had 2 fouls, it was at a pretty crucial point in the game. It's when Iowa went on its run to push the lead to 10. And of course, the game ends up a 5-point margin where it was at halftime. We credit Nebraska for finding a way to make that run late in the first half. But Nebraska has been staunch, has been religious about sitting guys with 2 fouls. And I think that's what Scott and Lincoln just texted in. Yeah, I think a very critical part of last night's game was when both Lawrence and Mass were on the bench with their 2 fouls apiece. Seemed like they both picked up their second foul within about a minute of each other. That's when the Nebraska offense that they tried to get going totally fell apart. You have your rules, you have your principles for a reason. You have to abide by them, almost regardless of situation. Fred Hoiberg has put guys on the bench with 2 fouls. When Buchengel picked up his second, Rink Mast immediately came into the game. Not Leo Curtis. Yeah. I was a little surprised by that. But this is one where, we can frame it, the analytics, the rules, the dogma, whatever you want to call it. There's got to be some flexibility. There's got to be some bend because Nebraska was really teetering. And I said it in pregame, if you get down by 10 points against Iowa, they're just going to bleed the clock. You credit Nebraska for making the 5-0 run to get into it. And of course, the Huskers eventually, came back to tie and take the lead later on. But you always wonder, because it didn't happen, what if Nebraska trusted Jamarcus Lawrence and Rink Mast to play through those fouls and these upperclassmen? If they had a few more possessions to problem solve, what would the compounding effects have been? Could it have been positive?
Yeah. So, I'm looking at it specifically. I remember it's all starting to come back to me here. Early in the game, Ben McCollum, and this is part of being a coach, right? And you and I have a lot of respect for Ben McCollum, not only what he did at his previous stops, but also what he could potentially do at Iowa in the future once he gets a little bit of time underneath him. Fred does the same thing where you have the traditional coach gets in the ear of the official early in the game, and early in the game, pretty soon thereafter, you see the official reward that team with a call. It happens to Nebraska. It happens to Iowa. It happens to every single team in the country. Ben McCollum early in the game actually was yelling at the official as Nebraska was setting some screens, and Iowa was selling them, as any team does, right? Mm-hmm. They were selling them that they should have been offensive fouls, or that they were maybe more aggressive than what they should be legal. And
right after that, Buchanan Gel gets clipped for the one.
But what I was going to say is right after that, Jamarcus Lawrence gets called for the offensive foul.
That's right.
So that was number one on Jamarcus with 16:08 to play in the first half. Jamarcus goes out with about 13 minutes to go in the first half.
His normal rest.
Yeah, his normal rest. He then comes back in, commits a foul with 8:21 in the half. At this point, Nebraska, it's teeter-tottering between a 4-point game, but Iowa in front. It's still well within reach. To your point about the substitution, we didn't see Jamarcus the rest of the first half. And with 8:21, I can understand saying, okay, you know what? We're going to get to the under 4.
Yeah.
But then Jamarcus, you're a hell of a player. We need to trust you in this moment. Just for the last 3 minutes and change, don't foul. Don't be an idiot, right? If you pick up your third, maybe we got to be a little more cautious with you in the second half. And yes, it's worked a lot this season, right? I told you this. Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? I think if we asked Fred Hoiberg, why do you still believe in your method? He would say, well, Nick, Austin, it's worked 22 out of the 26 times this year.
Yeah.
Right? It hasn't hurt us. Mm-hmm. It hurt us 1 out of 4 times, or 4 out of 26 times. Mm-hmm. You play the percentages, you play the odds, and there's no way that we can argue against that. However, the only reason we're having this conversation is because it seems like a pretty big spot in last night's loss.
It absolutely does. Let's get to Brad on the Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line as well. We're cooked, bros. It's falling apart fast. Did Mast just decide to retire about the Michigan game? Well, give Rink Mast credit for, giving it a go at Michigan as best he could, right? You were there. You interacted with Rink Mast. It was not pretty. Rink Mast, you credit him for working back to full strength while playing in games. But bottom line, Nick, is Nebraska needs more production from Rink Mast. And we can get to this probably more in the next segment as well. 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists for Rink Mast. That's fine. Okay, it's a little under his normal scoring production, but 8 and 4 rebounds and assists, you take that. But he didn't hit a 3, was 0 for 3, was just 4 of 7 then inside the arc. I think Nebraska got to put back on one of them. So you get 2 points anyways. But I'll maintain this talking point. Nebraska needs Rink Mast to be productive. Mm-hmm. And this is where you can credit Iowa, like Fred Hoiberg said, for, getting up under Nebraska's dribble. Rink Mast is a guy that thrives when he's matched up with opposing big men that aren't as fleet of foot as him. Iowa did something really smart. They're not a huge team, which was kind of naturally play to their advantage anyways. But Manio and Fulgaris were their 2 primary big men.
Yeah.
They weren't guarding Rink Mast very often. It was Cooper Koch, the wing that started on Rink Mast, more comfortable on the perimeter, quicker, didn't let Rink Mast get downhill, beat a big man off the dribble, and didn't give him space to shoot, can more easily recover over it, which is where we get into, okay, what does Nebraska need to do different? They had some opportunities that Fred Hoiberg said they should have knocked down, but between, Rink Mast going just 4 for 10 and Price Sanford taking just 7 shots all game, Nebraska's got to get creative and find ways to get those guys open in advantageous positions. Maybe some of it's their skill set, right? With Rink Mast being okay creating his own offense in the post, but not elite at it. And Price Sanford still being a guy who needs, a bunch of screens and movement to create offense for himself, more for others than from himself. At this point, it seems like opposing teams have found Nebraska's playbook. And Nebraska keeps going back to the same stuff because, like you would say, it's worked 22 out of 26 times. Yeah. But is there another wrinkle that Nebraska has left to get some easy shots early in games for guys so then they can do their bread and butter down the stretch when they need the close?
And remember, here's the thing. So Unmasked Texter says Berke, Buchanan gets a screen foul called on him in every game. Plus he does things that kill us. Who has more missed layups than him? Nebraska has forced everyone to play defense or else get beat. Teams that don't play defense in March Madness will struggle, teams that don't play us in March Madness will struggle with that. Here's the thing. There's a lot of, I get the frustration with Berke, Bayuk, and Jill at times, especially on the offensive side. But there's a reason we specifically started with this conversation, because on the offensive foul conversation, teams pick up on things like that in film, to where Berke can sit there and stand there as still as he can. But if the defender does a good job of selling it and the official sees it out of his eye that the defender flops or flails his arms, then there's probably a pretty good chance that they get called for an offensive foul during the game.
Just on reputation alone.
Just on reputation alone. And now to Nebraska's, to look at Nebraska, you have to try to figure out ways to combat that, right? However, Nebraska, just off of sheer volume, runs that sort of motion so often every time down the floor. To just play percentages, you're probably going to get called for an offensive foul once, twice, 3, 4 times a game. You just live with it, because that's part of your offense. That's part of your motion. That's where we can get into the officiating conversation later in the show of, just as it is a responsibility of the opposing coaches to say, hey, this is what Nebraska does offensively. This is where we can take advantage of that. It is the responsibility of the officials to then look and say, hey, this is what teams are picking up on, right? So then that's a whole other conversation, the same way that Nebraska needs to find ways to combat it and make adjustments on their side of things. I don't look at last night at all and go, yeah, you know what? This is Rink Mass' fault. He retired after the Michigan game, right? I don't look at Berke and go, yeah, those missed layups. Why? Because guess what? Sam Hoiberg missed layups. Jamarcus Lawrence missed layups. Bryce Sanford shot 7 times last night in a game where we all went in saying he was a big X factor for Nebraska. Last night was a Nebraska loss. It was not on any certain guy. It's easy to point to individuals and say, hey, what they did individually lost Nebraska the game. Well, sure. That goes back to what we started out this conversation with, Austin. You just need a guy to step up. You don't need everybody to be on perfect game after game. But on the nights that Price is down, you need Sam to be able to hit some shots. When Sam is off, you need Jamarcus to stay out of foul trouble. They just didn't get that last night.
And Nebraska had a couple opportunities, but the shot didn't go down.
Bingo.
Sturtz missed a 3 wildly off the backboard late in the shot clock. Nebraska got it to Rink Mast, rattled in and out. That would have cut the lead to 2 with about 3 minutes to play. Stuff like that. Okay, Mast is the one that missed the shot. But again, that was only his 3rd attempt, I think, from 3, or 2nd attempt from 3. Nebraska, playing the math, it's shooting threes, right? I said they couldn't afford a game in the teens or 20s for 3-point percentage. They were 3-12 in the first half and 2 of 12 in the second half. Nebraska actually ended up with a better shooting percentage overall than Iowa. They made one more shot than Iowa did, 18-17. But Iowa had that many more attempts at it than Nebraska did. Let's get to this from Cubsker. I understand the if it ain't broke, but don't fix it method and mentality, but they need Curtis or Garcia to step up when they get in the 7-man rotation. It'll be the death of this team. I disagree. It's bad right now in the regular season. You'd like to have, maybe a couple more bodies to throw at the problem. I don't know what's going on with Jared Garcia. Leo Curtis, I was a little surprised since he was off the availability report not to see him. Still shocked that we haven't seen Kendall Blue, just in spurts.
Yeah.
But for every reason, Nebraska doesn't trust those guys. But you're only going to play 7 in the postseason until it reaches blowout status or if someone gets hurt. 7 is kind of that magic number for coaches. 8's a luxury. 8's pretty rare. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a tough look in the regular season, but it's also what it's going to be in the postseason. Tad says just an ugly, ugly game last night. Best thing you can do is flush it and move on. I get that. But, Nick, this is one that I think needs to stick with Nebraska in a healthy way, because they've now lost 4 out of 5. They've lost now 4 games in a row in this series to Iowa. And, Nick, they lost a game in front of a fan base that both Cooper Koch and Bennett Sturtz postgame said, we needed this one to keep our fans continuing to come to games.
Yeah.
That was a shocking statement for me to hear from both of those players. So, we appreciate the fans being there in it with us, but it wasn't packed. Yeah. Even for a rivalry game in Carver, it was loud because that sound, bouncing down, kind of sitting and filling in the arena was fine. But for both those guys to say, we needed this win to keep our fans coming back, you, Nebraska, through credit to Iowa, some fault of your own, gave your biggest rival a spark. You gave him life. You got court storm for the first time in over a decade. And we'll talk about some of the issues with discipline here at the end of the hour. But this is one, Nick, that I think Nebraska needs to keep in the back of its mind, because you'll get another crack at Iowa on senior day.
Yeah.
And if you split with Iowa, lose on the road, beat them at home, really no harm, no foul. Okay. You held serves, essentially what you did. But if Nebraska is going to, I think, instill confidence in the fan base again, and really more importantly, instill confidence in that locker room again, what good teams do, what we've seen Illinois do, what we've seen Michigan State do, what we've seen Wisconsin do recently, all those teams have had their turn to be kind of down in the dumps. You know, what's going on? Are they broken? Okay, this is where they bow out of the Big Ten race. They bounce back with either a key win or a dominant win. Mm-hmm. Nebraska has two teams ranked, sub 100 in KenPom rating coming to town over the next 7 days, Saturday and then Wednesday. For Nebraska to reinstill confidence, I think get some of that swagger back, it has two perfect get-right opportunities where it should be looking to flex its muscle, not in a too cool for school way, but in a way that they're almost pissed off that, Maryland and Penn State dared to show up.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? You don't belong on the same court as us. Not taking it not seriously, but through no fault of Penn State's own and Maryland's own, just be mad at those guys for showing up. Take it personal that they think they can come in and continue your slide. Go play pissed off for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you got to go. I mean, you got to use it as fire. And we've said that before, though.
4-6, not 4-5. My bad.
Yeah. We've said that before, and we're going to kind of continue to keep saying it. One thing I will say about the depth conversation before we go to break, I just looked at the national championship game from last year, and this is along those lines of what you just said. 7 guys for both Florida and Houston in that game played meaningful minutes.
Yeah.
So this is, once again, like the number of guys, the number of bodies, it's easy for us as casual observers to sit there and go, man, just wish they had unlimited bodies that they could just throw out there.
Brett Hoiberg's the new Tom Thibodeau.
Right? Like, just have a countless number of guys, and we just need more height. And just because, Leo Curtis is available, why not put him out there? Well, matchups matter. And there's a lot of things that you're playing in that game. I think it's okay for us to sit here and question, or at least challenge the thought of, well, how much do they trust a guy like Jared Curtis right now?
Mm-hmm.
Or Jared Garcia.
Yeah,
I blended the two. Jared Garcia right now, because that's somebody that in Big Ten games on the road at that was playing meaningful minutes and actually played a key role.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your role shouldn't be promised throughout the entire year. There should be a standard you have to. But how far has it dropped? How far has the trust level in him dropped to where they don't want to play him even in the Cale Jacobson role of 2025, where it's the last 2.5, 3 minutes of the first half?
Who do you think would be better for Nebraska right now? Cale Jacobson that we've seen, or a healthy Connor Seaton?
I'm gonna lean Cale.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think from an all-around standpoint, he gives you more.
Cale's been solid.
He has been.
Iowa dared Cale to beat it a little bit in the first half. He didn't do it. Took a quick one. But Cale, again, wasn't the problem. Not individually.
This is the conversation, and maybe we can get into this in the next couple of minutes. Byron the Hog Farmer brings up, people forget about Oogie and Asijan. We brought up the Oogie conversation on the drive home today.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, this is not me questioning Connor Asijan's role. I think that this team's dynamic and the minutes are different if Connor Asijan's playing or available. I don't know if we see Braden Frager as early and as often as we did before. I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Maybe.
It's easy for us to sit here and be like, oh, automatically Oogie will replace so-and-so, or Connor will replace Cale Jacobson, or so-and-so. I don't know if it's that easy or that simple. And just because you have more options doesn't mean you have a better team.
I think that's a great way to phrase it. Last thing, then we'll go to break. Frank says Nebraska overperformed the first 3 quarters of the season. Now they're settling back into a team that doesn't shoot great and can't get a rebound. It's a typical Husker team. Frank, I think that's wildly disrespectful. Okay, maybe Nebraska did achieve, a 99th percentile outcome for, let's call it, the first 2/3 of the season, right? When they go 22-0, that's no more than 2/3 of the way through the season. Lose a tight game on the road at Michigan while shorthanded. Lose to the hot team in Illinois at the time. found a way to scratch out a couple of wins. And let's not pretend, Nick, like Iowa didn't shoot, poorly either. Nebraska had a better percentage, both overall and only made one fewer three on one fewer attempt than Iowa, right? Nebraska held Iowa to 33% shooting overall. Iowa in the first half of this game, let me get it pulled up here because I just had it. In the first half of that game, Nick, Iowa was 10 of 23. Okay, 44%, 3-10 from three, perfect 10 at the free throw line. Not a great half, but not a poor half. The second half, Nebraska held Iowa to 7 of 28 from the floor, 3 of 13 from three. The defense kept Nebraska in it.
Yeah.
The offense couldn't find answers, and that's where I want to go with our next segment.
Yeah, and give credit to Iowa because they hit their free throws, 17 of 18 on the day, number one. And to your point, just to put a bow on it, is Nebraska just didn't hit shots. They just didn't.
No, plain and simple. What are the adjustments, if there are any, that Nebraska can make here over the back half of, the back quarter, I guess, of the Big Ten Conference season? Austin Orman, Nick Sainert, we'll discuss that next.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Jordy Ball for Anderson Ford. For years, Anderson has relied on an exceptional customer experience. But just this once, they're going to rely on a really great pitch.
Right now, lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for $199 per month.
Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1007055. Previous service loader. $199 per month. Lease for 36 months with approved credit. 7,500 miles per year. 6,800 to assignee. No security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Plus take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26. See dealer for details.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And right now at Koppel, we are offering big discounts on all of our inventory. 2026 GMC Terrains are leasing at $279 per month or buy for $27,690. 2026 Canyon is leasing for $269 or buy for $40,980. Also right now, all new Equinox EVs and all half-ton trucks are starting at $12,000 off MSRP. These are just a few examples of some of the aggressive pricing going on right now at Koppel. Please stop on in or check us out at koppelcars.com. All leases with $2,500 down with approved credit.
Get ready, Lincoln. It's a huge weekend at the Icebox. The Lincoln Stars are back home Friday and Saturday taking on their conference rival Fargo Force in a critical push in the playoffs. Both nights, enjoy $8 vodka Red Bulls while you cheer on the Stars as they battle for postseason positioning. Saturday's game is being presented by Eagle Raceway, so expect even more high-octane excitement. The puck drops at 7 o'clock on Friday and 6 o'clock on Saturday. Don't miss your chance to be part of the push for the playoff energy. Secure your seats now at LincolnStars.com and be there when it matters most.
If your home isn't delivering the year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Need service? Call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
A lot of businesses say they're family-focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Hey guys, Nick Sainert here. Join me live from Arlington, Texas, this Friday through Sunday as 93.7 The Ticket covers Husker baseball's appearance in the Amegi Bank College Baseball Series. I'll have pregame and postgame videos on the Ticket social media pages, as well as commentary throughout Friday's 3 p.m. game versus Louisville, Saturday's 7 p.m. game against Kansas State, and Sunday's 2:30 p.m. game against Florida State. Our coverage from Arlington is sponsored by Diode Technologies, Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, and Chick-fil-A South Point Pavilions.
No one's ever explained it this way. That's what we hear at Trade-Offs when you finally see how today's crop insurance tools work with your grain marketing plan, not in isolation. With hail and wind rates increasing and margins already tight, it's time to challenge how you look at crop insurance. It's time to ask better questions. It's time to call Trade-Offs. Call us at 402-858-7501. or visit gotradeus.com to start the conversation. That's GOTREDAS.com. Trade-Us, ingrained in your success. No, seriously, give us a call.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, two-time national champion, here to talk to you about Window World Lincoln. At Window World, we specialize in replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing. Whether you're looking to enhance the beauty of your home or increase its energy efficiency, we've got you covered. And here's the best part. We offer the best for less. Our team is dedicated to providing top quality products and exceptional service at affordable prices. We want to earn your business and make your home improvement dreams a reality. So why wait? Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or visit our website at WindowWorldLincoln.com. Window World Lincoln, where quality meets affordability.
For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. It is Old School here, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Hour one of the show brought to you, as always, by the good folks at Heartland of Nebraska Windows. They're based out of Hallam, Nebraska. They offer free estimates, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty on everything while keeping their prices affordable. Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. You can give them a call today for more info, 402-430-3852. You can also visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. All right, Nick, the adjustments for Nebraska over the final 5 games. What's fixable in season? What maybe needs to wait till the offseason? I'm going to start in the playbook. You know, Fred Hoiberg has a well-deserved reputation as an offensive mastermind. I'm sure there's something else in the playbook that he's got as an answer, but I'm not so sure the playbook is necessarily the biggest issue. To me, when I hear Fred Hoiberg say post-game, when you face pressure, your eyes should light up. And that's not the first time this year he said that. What I think Fred Hoiberg is pointing to or alluding to is you got to have the ability to beat your man off the dribble. You got to have a good first step to get that paint touch, to get to the rim, either to finish there or to spray it out. Right now, there's one guy I think you can trust consistently for Nebraska to beat his man off the dribble, and it wasn't quite as easy yesterday, but Sam Hoiberg, right? Walking paint touch in a lot of ways for Nebraska. Jamarcus Lawrence can, but he'll often, stop for that mid-range jumper, which is fine, right? He can live there as one of the few guys on Nebraska that's allowed to do that. You look at Rink Mastin, the right matchup can. It's been a struggle against teams that go smaller to defend him and more athletic. Price Sanford, not really breaking you down off the dribble. Cale Jacobson gets there eventually, but he doesn't get a foot by you and go. Frager, since the ankles, looked a little hesitant. The handle's still a little loose for my liking. So maybe there's more Nebraska can do to scheme open some backdoor cuts, to scheme guys open. But I would say 2 things. Number one, has to make sense in the playbook, has to flow from what Nebraska already does, because otherwise it's going to be very obvious what's coming. You might surprise someone one time, then they see that look. Oh, wait, Nebraska only has one action installed at this point. There's only 5 games left in the regular season. How much are you adding at this point? Probably not much, which leads me then to number 2. That's probably an issue Nebraska needs to address in the offseason. Can they get a little more sudden, a little more explosive, a little quicker with that first step beyond more than just one guy to get those paint touches that if teams are going to pressure you, you're not playing off your back foot. You're not doing the YMCA, back you down, Sam Griesel style, from everyone on the roster. You have a little suddenness because once you get those 2 feet in the paint, you draw more eyeballs to you, which leads to those spray out, kick out threes that Nebraska likes or shots at the rim.
Obviously, we're talking about this in the majority of the half court, right? Yes. And because Nebraska, and this is, once again, maybe when we talk about the offseason, and a conversation for a couple of weeks from now, but it's more so of Nebraska, and we saw it last night in a game because we're getting a lot of texts about officiating and stuff. And I don't mean to keep beating this drum, but in the league like the Big Ten, where the officiating at times is suspect, and it's just a physical league. Like we always talk about it with football, it is just a physical league in basketball too.
Which is A, true, but B, also maybe cover for league officials who allow it to be played that way. Even sometimes outside of the context of the rule book.
Absolutely. And I think that there is something of Fred Hoiberg, not to use like a Nebraska football analogy, but essentially, Scott Frost comes in and has the whole league has to adjust to us type of thing. Thought he didn't have to play within the parameters of the league, how it's played, the characteristics.
And then once you start to finally play like that and use maybe a traditional running back, Nebraska this year has some success on the ground, right? I'm not in no way am I saying that Fred Hoiberg thinks that he is outsmarted or is better than the Big Ten and that he doesn't have to play within the parameters.
Big Ten might be the second deepest coaching league in the country.
However, what I am saying is I think that there is something accurate about when this season is all said and done. You can look back and admit, you know what? We need to do something to be better in the half court.
Yeah.
Because we are maybe in early season games against non-Big Ten opponents, we are going to get plenty of transition opportunities. And against teams that, frankly, we just are better than, we're going to get our transition opportunities like we want.
Mm-hmm.
But against teams like Iowa and Michigan State and the top-tier Big Ten schools, those teams that have so much discipline, they do not turn over the ball, and they're more athletic potentially than you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out ways, okay, how can we still contend? How can we beat them?
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska right now, we saw it last night. When you talk about beating guys off the dribble, when you talk about being able to do something offensively in the half court, Nebraska right now doesn't have it.
No.
And that's where you need a guy to step up, but you also need creativity in the playbook. And Nebraska in the half court set right now just unfortunately can't find it.
9-1-3, in my opinion, Iowa is a trash team. Nebraska played down to their level and didn't get it done.
So to that point, go ahead. Sorry.
15-08. Nebraska
excited.
hasn't beat a team with a winning record since January 10th. Only beat 6 teams that are over 500. What if Nebraska is overrated? We were talking about this on the drive. I've said it before on this show. I'll say it again as clearly as I can. Did you really think Nebraska was going to go undefeated? Did you as a fan really think that was going to be the expectation? It was fun while it lasted. Everyone inside those locker rooms at PBA or at Hendricks, wherever it is, they have to believe they're going to win every game. There's no other way they can go into the season. But Nebraska's 22-4.
Yeah.
Nebraska is still a top 15 team in the country by pretty much every metric. Nebraska is not perfect. Michigan, who's a top 5 team of all time at KenPom, is not perfect. Has lost, has issues, has an Achilles heel. Okay, no, Nebraska has its issues that we're trying to talk about right now. Welcome to college basketball. 365 out of 365 teams have flaws. Nebraska's are showing, but that's where I go back to this. Illinois came through their rough patch and has played really well. Michigan State has played through their rough patch and just blasted UCLA. Wisconsin was on the outside looking in of the bubble, and now they're in a 6 seed, 5 seed, and climbing right now. Purdue lost a few games in a row and was a little choppy, and now is back to playing some good basketball. Nebraska has its turn right now. Don't discount the first 22 games of the year and only focus on these 6.
Yeah.
But don't discount these last 6 and say, oh, they're automatically going to be fine because they won 22 in a row. Nebraska has issues in the half court on offense when it comes to getting to the rim and consistently creating good looks. That's true, especially against competition that has most likely scouted you before, whereas athletes comparable or equal to you. Nebraska has issues in the half court on defense. We haven't talked a lot about that, Nick. The shooting percentages were good for Nebraska. They forced Iowa into quite a few tough looks, but you got manhandled on the glass yet again by a small team that plain and simple should not have happened against.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 1.5, lockdown defenders. Sam Hoiberg will get his work done defensively. Berke Buchtengel can erase some shots at the rim. Jamarcus will compete. He's athletic enough. Cale Jacobson has a role. Nebraska isn't smoke and mirrors, but Nebraska is a math problem. The other teams have started to figure out how to solve, right? Some teams solve it with 0 + 5. Some solve it with 4 + 1. Some solve it with 2 + 3. Some multiply 5 times 2 and then divide by 2 again for whatever reason, right? Every team has issues. Nebraska is not alone in that. I guess when it comes to the adjustments, how much do you trust this Nebraska team to make them to continue to play better and round back into something closer to the 22-0 form that we saw earlier in the year?
That's where I'm at. I think it's okay. How are you going to get more creative? And that's where it's Fred Hoiberg's job, right? Like it's Fred Hoiberg, Nate Lenzer, everybody on the staff. Look at them and go, okay, what is the plan going forward? Because something is going to need to be maybe just slightly adjusted, right? Maybe it's minutes. Maybe it's what we talked about earlier of saying, hey, go against your strong philosophy of, you know what, I'm just going to say I trust my guys more than anything, even with some shady officiating in a game, right? Which is something that's out of your control. I'm not as concerned about the losses right now because, like you said, Nebraska's 22-4. And they are 11-4 in the Big Ten Conference. And if the season ended today, they still have the head-to-head over Michigan State, and they're still getting a triple bye in the Big Ten tournament, which is unprecedented for a Nebraska basketball program. Now, here's the other side of it all, and I'll go back to recent history. Just last season, I will talk about 4 teams that made it into the Elite Eight and or Final Four and or national championship game that all went through spells. And this is not rare. This is not rare that a team that is potentially making noise in March goes through a rough patch. Now, it is rare if they don't come out of it. It's more common that they get through it and they come out of it, and then they're playing like they were back in December. First example, Florida, your national champion last year. Guess what? They lost 4 games last year to teams that are worse than the teams that Nebraska lost to this year. They lost to a road game at Georgia, again, unranked team there. They lost to a Kentucky team on the road. They lost to a Tennessee team by 30 on the road. This is not rare air. Okay, let's talk about the runner-up, a team that had 5 losses last year, the Houston Cougars. Their dry spell came in their first 7 games when they lost 3 of their first 7 to Auburn, Alabama, and unranked San Diego State.
That was at Players Era,
yes,
I believe.
Austin, your very own Duke Blue Devils, same thing. They lost 2 of their first 5 last year. Auburn, a team that made, what was it? I believe the Final Four last year. Auburn lost 3 of their last 4
in the regular season.
This is not rare air. And so there is a reason that there has not been a single undefeated national champion since the 70s. And it's Indiana Hoosiers since the 70s. It's because it is mathematically almost impossible. Right? Where you can go through 30 plus games and not have 1, 2, or in this case of your national champion and runner-up, 9 combined losses last year. Not to say Nebraska is going to make the tournament, the championship game. But it matters most how they respond now. It's not as much about what they're going through. For me, it's more about how they're going to respond, because this is not new. This is not uncharacteristic for a team that is looking to make moves in March. What could be uncharacteristic is if they stay in this dry spell and they're not able to get out of it.
Nebraska has yet to lose 6 in a row or 5 in a row. That's what last year's team did in their regular season, right? I don't think Nebraska gets to that point. I think sooner than later, foot's got to be back on the gas pedal. You have to have those answers. You can only trust the process for so long before it's survived in advance time, which Nebraska has full designs in participating in.
Which we can't forget, like, this is the same team that's had their backs against the wall in individual and specific games. They've had their backs against the wall in Illinois, where they allowed the Fighting Illini to come on back. Then they were able to hit the big shot by Jamar. Then they had it in the very next game against Indiana, down by 16. Without this very same guys on this roster, they don't come back in that game. There's been times after time after time that, unfortunately, Nebraska's had their back against the wall. And what do we say more times than not about this season? After Ohio State, man, they just don't stop. They just don't give up. I'm not concerned right now.
No,
this is not me pouring Kool-Aid on this either. This is pulling up statistical and factual data from previous college basketball seasons to show you, hey, this is what happens when you're a top 10, top 15 team.
1171. I'm going to respond to this just on air. To Nick's point, let's say that Kentucky last year and Iowa this year are comparable. Kentucky more offense based, Iowa more defense based. That Georgia loss was a worse loss than any of Nebraska's. Yeah, Tennessee got its get back, and then Florida got its get back there. But that Tennessee team isn't as good as Michigan, Illinois, or Purdue.
Yeah, Nebraska lost to Michigan down 2 of their better players, or more necessary players for a single game to have success in Braden Frager and Rink Mast, who runs your entire offensive set and formations run through at Rink Mast at the top. Then next to that, you just because they're at home doesn't mean they're less valuable. Illinois is potentially right next to Michigan in terms of potential and national champion contenders in the Big Ten Conference. Purdue has the best point guard in the entire country. And if you look at that, I'm not trying to justify or take moral victories. I am absolutely not that guy. But we also have to put into perspective who Nebraska's lost to. Nebraska's not losing to Gardner Webb.
Incarnate Word, Samford.
Don't change the tone and move the goalposts from the end of the non-conference slate to what it is now. We have to be careful that the same things that Nebraska fans we hung our hats on at the end of the non-con, saying, hey, look what Nebraska did. They didn't drop one that they shouldn't have. They didn't make these massive mistakes that they've made in years past. They avoided all those. That is all true, despite the fact losing to 4 NCAA tournament teams, 3 of them ranked in the top 15 in the polls. All right, there you go. I'm done.
For now, more next on Old School.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Hey guys, this is former UFC fighter and mixed martial artist Anthony Lionheart Smith. The Upside Bar and Lounge in South Lincoln is the go-to spot for every UFC event, prelims, and main card. There's never a cover, so make sure you get there early and stay late. Upside Bar and Lounge has daily specials, a margarita club, and a taco club. And don't forget, they just added Buzz Bowls to their menu. Learn more about upcoming events by visiting UpsideBarLNK.com and stop into their South Lincoln location for every UFC event on 27th and Pine Lake.
A new year means it's time to try new things. If you haven't tried Führer's cheese spread yet, the time is now. For the days you don't want to go to the gym, don't worry. Führer's cheese spread is there to cheer you up. And for the days you do get to the gym, why not celebrate when you get back with the best dip around? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Führer's cheese spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, 2-time national champion, here to talk to you about Window World Lincoln. At Window World, we specialize in replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing. Whether you're looking to enhance the beauty of your home or increase its energy efficiency, we've got you covered. And here's the best part. We offer the best for less. Our team is dedicated to providing top quality products and exceptional service at affordable prices. We want to earn your business and make your home improvement dreams a reality. So why wait? Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or visit our website at WindowWorldLincoln.com. Window World Lincoln, where quality meets affordability.
No one's ever explained it this way. That's what we hear at Trados when you finally see how today's crop insurance tools work with your grain marketing plan, not in isolation. With hail and wind rates increasing and margins already tight, it's time to challenge how you look at crop insurance. It's time to ask better questions. It's time to call Trados. Call us at 402-858-7501 or visit gotrados.com to start the conversation. That's GOTREDAS.com. Trados, ingrained in your success. No, seriously, give us a call.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day. It'll be breezy and mild with an afternoon high of 65. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, continued breeze, a low around 32. And tomorrow, a chance of rain and snow showers throughout the day. It'll be breezy and colder, a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If your home isn't delivering the year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Need service? Call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Gentlemen, are you ready for something beyond the ordinary haircut? At Scissors & Scotch Lincoln, they blend your old-school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. Sink into a comfy chair, unwind with a complimentary drink, and let their master barbers handle the rest. It's not just grooming, it's an experience. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, needing to get cleaned up before family comes to town, or just need a little time to yourself, Scissors & Scotch Lincoln delivers sharp style every time. Book now at Scissors & Scotch in Lincoln, just south of 30th and Yankee Hill Road.
Are you looking for a fresh new hangout spot? Let me tell you about Liquid Assets Sports Bar, where Mondays mean new weekly drink and food features. With 23 taps, a full lineup of cans and bottles, and 40 TVs blasting every sports package out there, you'll never worry about missing a play. Savor high-end spirits at their stylish top-shelf bar, enjoy a healthy menu, family-friendly atmosphere, and catch all of your favorite teams every day. Doors open daily at 11 a.m. Liquid Assets Sports Bar, located at 2755 Jamie Lane in South Lincoln.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, this might need to be a 6-hour show the way the text line is going. But
Austin, you're getting in. I'm not responding. Let me make it clear. Austin, did I respond to any certain person on the text line?
Yeah, you were typing away over there.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, if you're getting a response, it's from me.
Yeah, if you're getting any responses, it's from Austin.
Yeah.
But I appreciate Austin having my back.
Yeah, no, I got you. We have just a few minutes here before we get to the top of the hour. We'll probably end up keeping this conversation rolling because people are enjoying it. Nebraska Athletics, Nick, banned a couple Husker fans. And we can tie this into the Iowa thing from last night as well, based on what happened in the Purdue game. So one student threw an object that hit people seated on the Purdue bench in the first half. That student had their tickets revoked and received a permanent ban on the ability to get a ticket to any ticketed Nebraska athletic event. Dang. And a second student used inappropriate and unsportsmanlike language directed at the opposing bench repeatedly after being warned. As he left, he was seen removing 2 water bottles from the Purdue team bench and throwing them to someone in the crowd near their seats. The student had his tickets revoked and received a 1-year ban on obtaining future valid tickets. So Nebraska handling discipline, and then they're also still looking into the beer throwing incident, allegedly involving a student as well. Tie that into, Nick, the aftermath yesterday of Nebraska, Iowa. Iowa's first ranked win in a long time, first ranked win under Ben McCollum.
Yeah.
Nebraska security cleaning up issues. Iowa security letting people slip through the line into the flow of the crowd into the handshake line.
Yeah.
And putting a phone in Fred Hoiberg's face while yelling at him. Not a good look.
Austin, we just got tagged in a photo from our friend Ethan, who's a beat writer for Iowa men's basketball. The University of Iowa has released a statement on the Fred Hoiberg incident from last night. The University of Iowa Athletics Department implemented its court intrusion guidelines following last evening's Iowa versus Nebraska men's basketball game. Unfortunately, an individual gained access to the court through a restricted area, directly confronting Coach Hoiberg and putting Nebraska players, coaches, and staff in a reactive situation. We apologize for this incident and will conduct a review of our procedures and security measures to determine what adjustments may be needed to further strengthen our protocols and help prevent similar incidents in the future.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you to Big Sky
The one and only.
Ethan. Here's the thing. Should Fred Hoiberg have kept his cool? Sure, right? Like there's that point. However, I'm not mad about it because there's a video that's from the crowd, similar to where we were sitting, really, that shows the assistant coach or somebody off of the Iowa bench basically allowing the fan to get through the scores table and the Iowa bench onto the floor, has his phone out, gets directly in Fred Hoiberg's face, and understandably so, Fred Hoiberg does not like that. I was concerned, Austin, I videotaped it. I was concerned of Price Sanford walking off the floor.
Yeah.
Because the way that Carver is set up, the opponent's bench, Nebraska's bench in this case last night, was directly just 10 feet away from the Iowa student section. So Price Sanford, as I'm trying to lay out this picture, Price Sanford's on the left wing when the game ends. He has to walk
all the way across the court
to the Nebraska bench as perpendicular. The students are rushing the floor to center court. And shout out to a couple of folks off of Nebraska's bench. I paid close. That's what I watched when they stormed the court. Was I had my camera, I zoomed in, and I kept it on Price Sanford the entire time. I was watching it over, and Nebraska's bench, give credit, they went right to him and they just swarmed him because they didn't want any of the students to do anything to Price because they were letting him have it the entire game.
Shout out to Price Sanford for not responding. He said he didn't hear it. I don't want to say he's lying. I'd be hard-pressed to believe he didn't hear it or have some idea. But let me say this in defense of Fred Hoiberg, who I think, we haven't heard anything from Nebraska on it yet. At least I haven't seen anything official. Like you said, Fred, he does know better. He would take it back, not what he wants to do. But Nick, I don't hate if he just struck the phone, if someone's getting up in his face like that, because that shows me just how much Fred Hoiberg cares. And let's not forget the context of this game to Fred Hoiberg specifically, just in the context of this season. You just got done hearing one of your players have obscenity screamed at him for 3 hours, from warm-ups all the way through the end of the game. A guy that played there, at that university before. You expected animosity, maybe not to that degree. You just struggled. You didn't have answers. Your guys didn't perform. You were getting hosed by the officials. You're frustrated from that. On top of, now you've lost 4 out of 6 games. In a rivalry game, you've now lost 4 in a row in the series in. You're on the road. It's going to be a crappy flight home. Oh, and by the way, Fred played for their other rival.
Yeah.
He hates that school.
Yeah.
He hates that arena. I wish I'm glad Nebraska's players didn't escalate it. I'm glad that's the only issue that we know about right now. But that's the fire Nebraska's team needs. Clearly, Fred, shouldn't have done that, wouldn't want to do that, had no idea or no plans to do that. Didn't hurt the guy. Guy was being, rude. Iowa failed in the security protocol, as they admitted. But there's some fire. Take note, players. That's what you got to act like. Not punching people, but bottle that up and use it to play better.
That's the other part. Here's the thing. On the video, too, that I've watched countless times, is the Iowa fan goes right by a security guard.
Right by him. And there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
And maybe the coach just wanted to get him through, didn't think it would be anything, but that's trying to give benefit of the doubt.
Well, but here's the thing, also security's got to step up.
Yeah.
They have the security guards in their blue shirts, 5-10 feet spaced out.
When we walked down, there were 5 police officers.
Yes.
And we tried to get to the media tunnel in that exact same corner.
Yes. And it took some time. And so it's just a lapse in their job. But ultimately, it is what it is. I didn't take too much of it. There's a lot going on. I'll say this: Nebraska, they banned those students for the language. The entire student section for the Iowa Hawkeyes should probably be reprimanded as well. Then, now, I'm not calling that to action, but they went 2 hours straight of saying bleep Price Sanford. And
Which is not what I heard the first time.
No, Austin thought they were saying other Sanford.
I thought they were being classy. I thought they were being
classy.
Respectful. The last time I give those guys the benefit of the doubt.
It was bad. And after I'm all for jiving. I'm all for going back and forth. That was bad. And give credit to Price for responding the way he did. Give credit to Nebraska. I wish that they could have used that as fire in the moment. and maybe rallied around Price a little bit. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, Nebraska falls last night. But man, yeah, I told you this, Austin. I think we agreed on it. March 8th, that's going to be a chippy ball game. And I hope Nebraska fans, and I'm confident in this, I hope they give it right back to Iowa. Not in terms of the words specifically,
yeah,
but in terms of the energy. Because for the folks that were there, and we've had a couple on our text line say that they were in Iowa City last night. For the folks that were there, they felt it. There was pure hatred towards Nebraska from the Iowa fans.
Yeah, meant a lot to Iowa.
Give it back,
straight up.
We heard them in the post game.
Yeah,
they said they hated us. They were like they were not. They made it very clear that right next to Iowa State is Nebraska. All right, cool. Now it's Nebraska fans' turn to do it right back.
Those are the stakes. Now you know. Hour 2 of Old School next.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Good morning, Breakers. This is Scott Miller from Midwest Bank. When I recently joined Midwest Bank, I was immediately impressed by our exceptional service. My first customer made the switch from a large corporate bank and didn't have to wait in line or call a 1-800 number. We treated him like family. He now visits the bank just to say hello. While other banks go corporate, we stay Nebraska. Visit us at midwest.bank or drop by a branch today. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Way out there where the sun comes up under the big red sky, I do life the way I love, with family by my side. I feel home with me, no matter where I go.
Proud of where we're from, excited for where we're going. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And right now at Koppel, we are offering big discounts on all of our inventory. 2026 GMC Terrains are leasing at $279 per month or buy for $27,690. 2026 Canyon is leasing for $269 or buy for $40,980. Also right now, all new Equinox EVs and all half-ton trucks are starting at $12,000 off MSRP. These are just a few examples of some of the aggressive pricing going on right now at Koppel. Please stop on in or check us out at koppelcars.com. All these with $2,500 down with a roof credit.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
Are you looking for a fresh new hangout spot? Let me tell you about Liquid Assets Sports Bar, where Mondays mean new weekly drink and food features. With 23 taps, a full lineup of cans and bottles, and 40 TVs blasting every sports package out there, you'll never worry about missing a play. Savor high-end spirits at their stylish top-shelf bar, enjoy a healthy menu, family-friendly atmosphere, and catch all of your favorite teams every day. Doors open daily at 11 a.m. Liquid Assets Sports Bar, located at 2755 Jamie Lane in South Lincoln.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln, this is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Woo! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers. Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is Old School. After a brief delay, Austin Norman and Nick Sainer back with you. We'll talk some more Husker hoops for 15 minutes, give or take. Call up Evan Bland, talk some Husker football and baseball. And then
big weekend, Austin.
Oh, yeah.
For baseball.
Well, yeah.
Let me make that clear.
Had a big one. Having a big one. All big ones. Big thanks to Graham Tire Company for sponsoring Old School. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. 402-464-5685. I'm going to get this out of the way really quick. We have Chopper chiming in on an anti-rink mass tirade, I'm going to call it at this point. Averaging 6 rebounds per game. Is that good enough? Well, Rink Mass right now is averaging 6.2 rebounds per game, down from 8 his sophomore year at Bradley. And junior year at Bradley, averaged 8 rebounds. He averaged 7.5 rebounds per game at Nebraska in 23-24. 6.2, yeah, it's less, but not that much less. It's right in line with what he's done. His scoring average is up. His three-point numbers, he's at almost an even 33% right now, pretty much in line with his career number. Right, Rink Mass started the year out shooting extremely well from 3, which goes to show you that, the slump he's been in has really, brought those numbers down. But I would say on the rebounding front specifically, Nick, yeah, sometimes Nebraska might need him to go get it a little bit, but Buitengel's improved as a rebounder. Sanford's got some length. He's a relatively active rebounder. Sam Hoiberg led the team for a while. As bad as it's been for Nebraska on the glass, team-wide, and for the most part, they've been better this year. So I'm not so worried about Rink Mass's counting stats is maybe in that way. And it was concerning to see him, not have position against Oscar Clough so consistently and get manhandled like that. But Rink Mass has generally done his job on the glass, even if the numbers don't reflect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. We can always sit here and nitpick after losses. I think how would we respond if Nebraska would have won last night? Right? Now, granted, that's easy, low-hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. But we would have sat here and said, man, if Nebraska, let's say, okay, so hypothetically speaking, and it's easy for me to do this, and it's a stupid exercise, but I'm going to do it anyway. Sam Hoiberg doesn't botch the layup. Jamarcus doesn't miss his layup.
Rink's 3 goes down.
And Rink's
make it
3
2.
goes down.
Yeah.
Nebraska wins last night.
Yeah.
We're sitting there going, wow, look, Rink was below his average. And Nebraska still won on the road in a game where the officiating was against them. And in a game where Iowa consistently and continuously took Price Sanford out of the equation. Price Sanford hits 1 more 3. Sam Hoiberg hits 2 layups. Nebraska wins. Wow. Look, Nebraska shot poor tonight. Still found a way. This is what it takes to win in the margin is so thin. It's easy to nitpick. It's easy to look at individual performances and go, man, this is the reason Nebraska lost. Sure. Is it an accumulation of all those individual performances? Yes. And I get the exercise and I understand where you're coming from, Chopper, regarding, has Rink been in a little bit of a slump? Yeah, he has, right? But also Nebraska, for the most part, normally gets Sam Hoiberg to step up. They just didn't last night. They normally are able to go to Price and say, Price, just bail us out more than 1 or 2 times a game. It just didn't happen last night. And sometimes you just tip your cap and say, all right, you were better than us tonight.
John chimes in. Starter Heyman Jewelers text line again, 402-464-5685. To advance in the tournament, though, those are the teams you need to beat. Exactly. Guess what? Nebraska's learning the lessons. Would you rather have Nebraska, coast through the regular season and learn the lesson the hard way in mid-March? No, I don't think you would. Nebraska has beat NCAA tournament teams. Yes, it's been a while, but they have the potential, the capability to do it. Their good wins still hold value. They don't have a bad loss. Nebraska right now, and this is what we talked about, needs to learn the lessons. Yes, these are the types of teams that Nebraska will face, right now, probably in the second round. Maybe a really good mid-major if they continue to drop down the seed list in the first round. But, Nebraska's essentially lost 4 round of 32 games right now, is what it's been. Maybe some Sweet 16 caliber of games. So, yes, Nebraska has lessons to learn from them. But Nebraska has, already won some of those as well. Husker Stu says the dumb turnovers are what is pissing me off. You steal the ball away, then you turn it right back over. Yeah, Nebraska looked a little sped up at times. Rink Mast had one near half court that Nebraska had to run out on Braden Frager through that really bad one-handed cross-court pass that led to 2 points for Bennett Sturts. There are warning signs, right? The check engine light's on for Nebraska, but I don't think the car's smoking.
No,
in this stand.
And Chopper, this is not like we're not trying to come at you just a one way. I think there's a lot of passion on the text line that we're recognizing, right? And we do appreciate it because I'll say this, Austin. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit this. We had plans, like we had different segments planned and things like that. But it's enjoyable to know where you guys are coming from because Austin and I and we're kind of in this bubble of like what we see, what we feel, but then also it's great to hear from you guys. So let's just make the record clear on that.
And Chopper says, let the record say I'm a Mast fan, just ready for him to get back to being a dog.
We all are.
Well, yeah, we're frustrated not at him, but for him.
Yeah,
we want it so bad for them in so many ways as Husker fans.
Because here's the thing: like, think about what Fred Hoiberg was talking about in the middle parts of the year when this slump somewhat started. It's like, look, it's going to fall for Rink. Like the button's going to be pushed. The shots will start to fall. They're not concerned about Rink. If Fred Hoiberg's not concerned about Rink, then who the hell am I to sit here and say I should be concerned about Rink? Right? Concerned for him, not with him. Yeah. I think in addition to all of that, on top of that, Chopper, like getting ready for him to be back being a dog, I think everybody is. Like I was one of the loudest as Nebraska entered this stretch of Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, obviously not in this order, but this stretch, right? I sat here behind this very same microphone and preached from the mountaintop saying, guess what? Even though Rink isn't necessarily playing a ton of minutes right now because they were able to rest him when Nebraska was up by 20 in later stages of the game, even though Rink's shots not falling and there was that stretch where he was 6 of 33 from beyond the three-point line, what had we known about Rink Mast? Mm-hmm. In Nebraska's biggest games in his career, while wearing a Husker jersey, Rink Mast showed up. Yeah. Wisconsin, Purdue, year after year, he shows up. That's what I expected. Mm-hmm. Is it a bummer to see it? Absolutely. But there's a lot more issues that Nebraska has rather than just Rink Mast being a couple of rebounds under his average for his career.
let's go to Jordan P. on our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. Jordan P. says, Iowa is the only loss that actually feels bad, though, and it has nothing to do with it being Iowa. Despite questionable calls, lopsided offensive rebounding stats, Iowa not being a better team in any way, shape, or form, Nebraska played about as bad as it has all year. All stuff the team can work on. If you look just at the AP poll ranking, Nick, technically Nebraska's been upset 3 times. The only game Nebraska, has lost as an underdog has been Michigan. Well, actually, Iowa was favored by 1.5 yesterday.
That's right.
So
Iowa was favored. Nebraska was favored against Purdue.
It was close. I think
Yeah.
it was a slight Nebraska. I forget exactly, but Nebraska was, I think, slightly favored against Illinois at that point. The Illinois loss felt bad because Nebraska crawled back to lead it at halftime and then didn't have answers down the stretch. Purdue, the way they were playing coming in, kind of felt bad, especially with how bad the first 3.5 minutes were. And to be that close to a tantalizing comeback victory and fall short, always painful. And I would hope for the team, Iowa feels bad because it has something to do with Iowa, because Nebraska had a better record, because Nebraska rated out better statistically, and because Nebraska, as that better team coming in, wasn't able to impose its will like the best of the best teams do. You credit Iowa, you go back to the drawing board if you're Nebraska. I would say, the Michigan loss, I think fans were waiting for that shoe to drop with how good Michigan has been.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, shucks, man, it was right there for the taking. What a bummer. Illinois, I didn't feel like that was a disappointing loss for Nebraska. A bit of a bummer with the lack of response down the stretch. But Illinois is really good, and they played like it. Purdue, once Nebraska got down by 15 points in the second half, it was, okay, what can Nebraska do to show hope for the next time out?
Yeah.
Well, then they darn near won the thing. The comeback still hasn't fully sunk in on me that Nebraska had a legitimate chance to win that game with as far down as they got. Yeah, you were upset at home, but were you really? That was a game between 2 evenly matched teams. And then this to me really felt like the first time Nebraska was actually upset on the road as the top 10 team. The first time that they really stubbed their toe in a meaningful way. And even then, you lost by 5 points at a rival when you didn't have your best.
Yeah.
You got dragged down into the mud, but you didn't let Iowa curb stomp. You just lost a game.
I'm sitting here also thinking about just go playing the last 2 months in my head, and I'm trying to think of what were we saying after Nebraska really started out the season so well, and what are we saying now? What has changed so much? And I think it's a lot of it's perspective, and I'll go a little bit deeper here. One of the biggest things that we attributed the early season success to, and also just the something that was so easy to cheer for with this team, was with the roster construction, no one guy needs to take the bulk of the shots.
Yeah.
We can all sit here and agree, okay, yeah, Price needs volume, right? Price is at his best. Nebraska's at their best when maybe Price shoots a little bit more than others, right? But it's not it's not what it's been in years past. It's not a Teran Petaway or a Teddy Allen type of situation. It's not even at times Bryce Williams from last year. Keisei Tominaga just bailing you out so he shoots a ton because you have no other half-court offense.
Yeah.
That was something that we attributed a lot of the success in the early parts of the season to, was, man, Fred's got this blueprint. He knows it now. And we don't expect going forward that Nebraska's going to have a lot of those guys that say, hey, I need 15, 16 shots a game.
Yeah.
They're not at their best if they have a Bennett Sturtz on their team that shoots 22 times and scores 25 points.
Yeah.
Right? They're at their best when Rink's adding 12 or maybe 16. Price has 20. Sam has 11. Jamarcus has 12. When they can balance it out, that is when Nebraska's at their best. And so, yeah,
and the same thing
it's easy for us to look at the stat sheet and go, man, and this is not going back on Chopper, but look at and go, yeah, these guys are all down in comparison, but average the entire sum of the parts is heading in the right direction.
Well, and when you look at the counting stats too, especially against a team like Iowa, you got 58 possessions.
Yeah.
Iowa averages 63 possessions per game. Nebraska averages 67. That's 9 possessions of counting stats Nebraska just didn't get. Some of those were given away, right, with turnovers, but those get factored into the total number of possessions. So in a slower game, your stats are naturally going to be, that little bit lower. And Nick, this is where I love that perspective, because it's really funky to turn around and start blaming the same reason that we were crediting for the success.
And
earlier.
that's what I think perspective is important, because don't flip so quickly when adversity hits, just to have that you were just saying, we all, I don't say you because I'm not targeting anybody. We all were saying that, man, this is what's so easy to cheer for with this team is that they spread it around one guy. Sure, there's the same suspects every night, but man, anybody can go get a bucket if they need to. Anybody can score. We might have one game where Berke even scores double digits. We might have a game where Sam Hoiberg is able to drop 15. Cale Jacobson almost to a new career high. Like, you have these games, but now once you start losing games, that's the reason you're losing. Oh, it can't be. You can't have it the best of both worlds. In that conversation, I think perspective is just really important in this conversation.
60-90 piggybacks off what you said. A lot of doomers out there. Good basketball teams lose games. Sometimes it happens. Fred can show his coaching chops and get it back on track. Does no one realize that Nebraska just went through the toughest stretch of their season?
Yeah.
Arguably. I mean, you look at Creighton, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin in rapid succession in early January. That was pretty brutal for Nebraska.
January.
Yeah, or late December into January, right? That was a pretty brutal opening stretch for Nebraska.
You had a New Hampshire went in there, mixed in there a little bit.
In North Dakota, who were game. And then you go to Indiana and Ohio State, two bubbly teams as well. Yeah. So this stretch is in the conversation there, but, it was maybe harder for Nebraska at the beginning of the year. They made it look easier, but now everything just looks so difficult. My dad chimes in and says, no one had it going last night. And that's just the thing. Usually Nebraska's been able to hang its hat on something going well for at least a half.
Yeah.
Even though Sanford and Lawrence scored double-digit points, it's hard for me to say they were, bright spots.
They weren't in a rhythm.
One.
Nobody was in a rhythm.
No.
I think also, 4979 says, I think Nebraska's a good team, but not having a guy who can get you a bucket when you need it is a problem. Iowa actually had a guy last night, even though they're not a great team. Sturts, here's where the coaching and the scouting comes in, and hopefully a guy like Pat Monahan, who has been added to the staff at the end of the year, or excuse me, in between last year and this year, to replace Adam Howard, he can kind of find Nebraska their version and what works for them in terms of a hidden gem. Bennett Sturts, for those that don't know, was playing at Northwest Missouri State 2 years ago. That's where he was at.
Yeah.
Like that's Division II guy, was not on a lot of radars until he got to Northwest Missouri State and started shining. And Iowa was able to get him here. But ultimately, you're right. Like, Nebraska's got to go get needs somebody on their roster that can go get a bucket. Normally they do have that.
And that's an off-season thing. That's not a right now thing.
Yes. And so we can sit here and yell until we're blue in the face that, hey, Nebraska needs this, Nebraska needs this. But realistically, that does Fred Hoiberg and his staff no good right now, because it's not possible to go get a transfer midseason.
And you can try to manufacture it as best you can.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough to do. Brad from Baldwin, Nebraska needs a true big man 7-footer paint presence. Okay, maybe they have that in a young Leo Curtis. But number two, were you saying that about Braxton Mia last year?
Yeah.
They had that. Nebraska didn't use him. It didn't fit their style, right? I was excited because I thought he would add to it. That's not where Nebraska is going to get its rim protection with the way they play defense. Maybe you need a guy like that situationally.
Yeah.
Maybe Leo Curtis can be that next year where you just park him in the paint and dare teams to challenge him. But the way Nebraska plays defense, like they play offense, team concept, more so than lock up one-on-one.
They value running things through the big man in a stretch big way too much. And rightfully so, because guess what? They've had success. 3 consecutive 20-win seasons, and they've won 22 games this year.
Nebraska baseball's won 22 games a lot of years. Easier to do in baseball than basketball, admittedly. So let's talk some Husker baseball. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joins us next.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind, crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos, wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas, topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos. Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Make your next event unforgettable with Grazing Gouda, your local artists and experts in charcuterie and grazed tables. From boardrooms to ballrooms, they turn gatherings into experiences with stunning spreads of artesian cheeses, cured meats, fresh fruits, and gourmet bites. Perfect for corporate luncheons, weddings, parties, or any celebration that deserves a wow moment. They handle the details. You take the compliments. Book your graze table today at GrazingGouda.com. Grazing Gouda, because every event deserves to be savored.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
It's another new year and another exciting edition of the Nebraska Lottery's popular Cash Blast promotion. You know how it works. Until March 24th, buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled. So start out your 2026 with a bang. Enter the Cash Blast promotion today. 2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
Looking for something fun tonight? Axe throwing, local beer, and great vibes are waiting at Arbor Axe House. From casual nights out to celebrations and team events, it all starts here. Reserve a lane today at arbораxe.com. Arbor Axe House at the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. It is Old School. Austin Orman and Nick Sainer with you. 4:30 on Wednesday means we're headed to our Allo Fiber VIP line, where we're joined by Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Evan, a 3-1 start to the season for Nebraska baseball down there in Phoenix. Before we dive into the details, you look at 3-1, unqualified success for Nebraska. Good enough start to the season in a big picture sense?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of looked at the weekend going in and thought 2-2 is probably the floor for what you're hoping for. And obviously 4-0 is something the program hasn't done since 2005. So yeah, you go 3-1 as a cold weather school where the offense is hitting, and you even do it a little bit shorthanded without Cooper Katsky, who's a projected weekend guy. I think Nebraska's got to be thrilled with that. I think you look at those other teams too. That's those wins over UConn, Northeastern, and Grand Canyon. If history is any indication, those will be RPI assets here in a few months.
Evan, on that note, you mentioned the offense is hitting, as you just said. The big storyline from that weekend is 2, 3, 4, 5 multi-hit games through the first 3 games. Obviously, a little bit of different story against Stanford. But, I mean, even if Nebraska can get a sliver of that production from guys like Jet Buck, Case Sanderson, Joshua Overbeek, and Dylan Carey, I mean, what does that do for the rest of the lineup and for Nebraska's potential success this year?
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like when you talk about getting old and staying old, like part of that is the guys who've been around and are veterans are performing at a high level. And so, Dylan Carey worked in the offseason to improve his power swing, and Joshua Overby came back for a fifth season to be a leader and a producer. And Case Sanderson, kind of the same thing. He wants to go from table setter to the guy driving in runs. And we saw all of that. Jet Buck was the guy Nebraska initially wanted as Dylan Carey's replacement at shortstop, and Carey stayed. And so Buck does what he does now. He's at second base, hitting line drives all over the place. And so, it's huge. Like you think about what Nebraska did last year. They win the Big Ten tournament. They go to a regional. They had the worst hitting offense or worst scoring offense in the Big Ten. And so when that's the case, it puts more stress on your defense. It takes away that margin of error. Same thing with your pitching staff. And so if you have an offense that can hit runs in bunches and have that big inning or two, like it opens things up for your pitchers to throw a little bit more loose. I think you'll really see the benefit of a thing like that on the midweek when you don't maybe have your top arms available and you just need to outscore somebody. You see it all the time. We've seen it this week around the country. Just a reminder that, like, if you have a lineup that can slug, that can make up and cover for a lot of deficiencies elsewhere. So even the Stanford game on Monday, they fell behind 6-0 early. But if this were last year's offense, I think that's a game Nebraska probably loses, 10-2, 10-1. Things probably go pretty quickly, and they fought back. And there was a moment there where it looked like, Stanford was stressing a little bit. So it's huge for what this team wants to be. They have these guys in place for a reason, and at least through one weekend, it looks like they're making some gains.
On that point, Evan, I'm glad you bring up the Stanford game, because that to me was really the exception where the Nebraska offense didn't strike back right away. They have runners in the first and second innings as Stanford builds that lead. They're not able to put up any runs early on in that one. But, UConn strikes first. Nebraska comes right back. Northeastern gets 3 off Yasa. Nebraska responds with 3 to retake the lead. And then similar kind of deal with Grand Canyon before Nebraska blew it open late. How important is it for an offense to be able to respond and pick up its pitcher like that after maybe a rough spot, to come back, maybe not make it all back at once like Nebraska did this weekend, but at least, show the pitcher that the offense has his back and put something up after maybe a tough inning on the mound?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and that's how it played out, where you get behind 6 or 7 in a game, and typically that means you're going to be digging deep into your bullpen and giving guys a chance to show what they can do that you wouldn't maybe in a high leverage spot. And midway through that thing, it's 9-6, and Nebraska started putting guys out there that it would consider some of its better bullpen options. I think that just kind of showed how that mindset flipped within the game. The other thing about the offense that was pretty impressive is they really grinded on pitchers in the sense that they were working counts. They would take their walks. They just found ways to stress opponents. And you really see the benefits of that in a weekend series where if you have an offense on a Friday and a Saturday that's really making the opposition go to the bullpen over and over, like that's how you win series on Sunday when it's really depleted on the other side. And you can, have some higher scoring affairs. Like that's just kind of where it is. And I think there's depth with this lineup too, where we talked about those guys in the middle, but like Will Jeske hits a couple of home runs. Max Butenbach, we know what he can do. He's going to get going. Devin Nunez was relatively quiet, but we know what his potential can be. Mac Moyer comes in center field and has a big outing. And then there are guys that performed well in the offseason that really haven't had their chances just yet, and like Nico Newhan and Preston Freeman. So I think there have been years for Nebraska where you just kind of wondered what the bottom third of the lineup would look like or who would fill in if someone needed a rest. And now you kind of look at it at least after a week and based on what they saw in the fall, and there's probably 12 or 13 guys that you could plug in without too much of a drop-off necessarily. Rhett Stokes on the infield is someone else who's been a starter for Nebraska before. He's kind of a super utility infielder who is going to be a benefit and an asset to this team at some point too. So a little bit more pop, maybe not quite as much speed, a little bit more depth. I think that's all a trade-off that Nebraska is willing to take, assuming that pitching continues to come together and the defense can be reliable too.
We'll get to the pitching here in just a sec. I thought it was a relatively quiet, 8 for 17 weekend for Jet Buck, which is funny to say. He also drives in 4 with 2 doubles. That's a guy, Evan, we've heard about the pop, right? The 20 home runs, the lower level. Didn't get one out, just had the 2 doubles, but I was impressed with Jet Buck's power to all fields. Then the other guy toward the bottom of that lineup that you warned us about last Thursday, and that I thought had a really good weekend, even though his average was a little lower than some other guys on Nebraska's team. I was really impressed with Cole Kitchen's approach, his ability to use all fields. He came through in a big spot early in the weekend for Nebraska. Seems at least through one weekend like Nebraska struck gold to some of those lower level transfers like a Buck and a Kitchens.
Yeah, it looks like those were the guys that they expected them to be when they come in, and we'll both chatted here today with some media too, and just kind of said, the thing he looks at is the controllables, like how often were guys putting bat on ball and squaring it up and hitting line drives, and those were 2 guys who did it at a really high rate. I mean, yeah, Cole Kitchen's 6 for 18. Like if he continues to barrel up balls the way that he did on opening weekend like that, I think those are numbers that are going to continue to be pretty high and productive for what Nebraska wants. Buck certainly is that way. Again, they brought him in here to be the shortstop because they thought Carey was going to go pro, and when it didn't turn out that way, now they have a middle infield that's even all the more stacked. And so this is a guy, who's known for his power at the lower levels. You talk to him a little bit. He's a guy who's, I think, not intimidated by leveling up his, the competition for him. Like, I think he's someone who has that more relaxed attitude that you want from a catalyst near the top of your order. So, I mean, we talked about it in the offseason. Like, Nebraska wanted to find a way to juice up its bats. And those are 2 spots, certainly, where they brought in guys who maybe wouldn't have fit the profile 2 or 3 years ago of what they wanted to do, back when it was a little bit more focused on speed and manufacturing runs. But I think they're going to find that if Buck and Kitchens continue to do what they do, they're going to be able to manufacture some offense maybe in a little bit of a quicker fashion here this season.
Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joining us here on the show. Evan, couple more for you. As we look at the arms on the mound, you talked about the bullpen a little bit ago. I mean, this might be a really hard question for you to ask, so I apologize. How solidified do you think the starting rotation is, especially on Friday, Saturday, it is right now for Nebraska?
No, it's an interesting question. It's a really good one. I think, Horn was the clear guy going into the season based on what he did a year ago. I don't know that changes based on what he did on opening night. That was impressive. I'm sure he'd want to give you a little bit more length, but they're rolling with him again on Friday. I don't think that's any surprise. I was very intrigued to see what Carson Yassa would do in his first start of the year based on everything he did in the offseason, and he was impressive. 9 strikeouts, gives you some length. I think his best baseball is certainly ahead of him this year. He to me still is one of the ultimate wild cards of this team, where if he can perform like a true Saturday guy, like that just opens up a lot of possibilities further down. It moves everybody back a roll in a good way. And so what's interesting to me right now, Nick, is you look at the Sunday spot this week, they're going with Gavin Blackowitz, who moved up because Cooper Katsky was under the weather, and he performed really well against Grand Canyon. Well, now Blackowitz is going to get the chance to pitch against Florida State, which is a really potent lineup. And Katsky, I think the idea is that he's still kind of recovering from his illness, and so he'll fill in as necessary. But hey, what happens if Blackowitz goes out and shoves on Sunday? Like, suddenly, he had the chance to make his case, and then maybe Katsky's the midweek guy, or he could come back in on the weekend and Blackowitz becomes your lockdown Tuesday guy, the likes of which Nebraska has not had in the Will Bolt era. So it's not, I don't think it's solidified in the sense that what everyone's roles are going to be, but it does seem like the problems and the decisions that Nebraska has to make here in the next few weeks are the kind that you want if you want to have the season that Nebraska's aiming for.
On that conversation, and to that point, big picture wise, I mean, part of it feels like, do we still have Evan?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay.
I'm here.
Part of it with it, sorry, the audio in my headphones cut out. Part of it with it is Nebraska hasn't had necessarily a consistent Sunday guy, right? Like Shea Shanneman's had some instances a couple of years ago, but that's been where Nebraska will try to go for sweeps on the weekend in some big conference matchups, and they'll have a guy on the mound that can only get them 3 or 4 innings. Now, obviously, Sunday is going to more consistently be your bullpen day, but for the most part, it feels like that would create an element of opportunity that Nebraska hasn't had consistently if they can find a lockdown and consistent Sunday guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you think about some of Nebraska's better teams in the last decade, like Jake Myers was a Sunday guy for Nebraska, and they won a ton of series. It's Will Walsh and Jackson Brockett a couple of years ago were Sunday guys, and Nebraska was able to do it. And so that's part of what I'm talking about with like Carson Yassa. If he can be that Saturday guy, then that allows you to move a Blackowitz or a Katsky to Sunday, and allows you to move the other guy potentially to a midweek role. And then if they're giving you length, then that allows you to go to the bullpen a little bit later. And I think that's the other piece that was kind of interesting with this staff too, is like, it's especially these first couple of weeks of a college baseball season, it's about who's in the circle of trust. You know, you have an idea of who it's going to be, but when the games are live, like who do you trust? And there were a whole bunch of guys I thought that acquitted themselves really well. You know, got a young guy like Chase Olson or Deshaun Unger, Auden Pankinen was a guy who they liked, Jace Ziola, true freshman. Price Bender came on and gave him a chance to come back against Stanford. So, like, I mean, I think that's the other huge part of this thing, is if those guys can be reliable moving forward, they can give you innings here or there. They can be matchup pieces, and certainly bridges between the starters and Kevin Minnell on the back end. Like for any college baseball team, the weakness is kind of how do you fill that inning 6 through 8 before you get to your closer. And it looks like Nebraska may have some guys that they can trust, at least based on opening weekend. And again, you've got Louisville, Kansas State, and Florida State. All three of those lineups can mash the heck out of the ball. So we're going to learn again, I think, who is rolling for Nebraska and who they can trust with conference season just a few weeks away.
Any concern regarding Kevin Minnell, Evan? Two, up and down performances, got out of everything in his first appearance, allowed a couple runs against Stanford on getaway day. First game, first weekend jitters for Kevin Minnell, something that you're monitoring.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pay attention to it a little bit. He was so dominant in the offseason. Red White, he was extremely impressive. He's been solid by all accounts in January and during the ramp up period. He's an older guy, so you don't think that's going to be something maybe mentally that would stay with him. I thought the Stanford situation, like you see it in the majors sometimes, right, where you bring a closer in sort of an unorthodox situation and they struggle a little bit. That kind of smacked of that a little bit to me. But we'll see. Like he's a guy, like consistently, you talk to the hitters on the Nebraska team, like they say it's Minnell who's the tough one with the sinker slider combo and the arm angle, and you don't know, he tunnels his pitches really well, so you don't know what's coming until it's right up on you. And I think he's got that competitive makeup that you want to, where it's a short memory, and he's probably more excited to come out and show what he can do rather than, falling back and re-examining himself. So I think he's still the guy that you want to trust on the back end, and I'm sure Nebraska will have no qualms about putting him in there if it's a close game down in Arlington this weekend.
We'll end up with a couple of in-city products here. The Worthley brothers. We'll start on the mound. No Jalen Worthley. Surprised by that at all? Is that matchup based? Do you think? Is that a sign that they don't know, what Jalen Worthley's best role is going to be? I was surprised not to see him as one of the lefty options out of the pen. What's your read on that situation?
Yeah, he struggled a little bit last year, and I think at this point, like especially early on in the season, and Will Bull said this today, like their priority was to get a sense of what they have with some of their younger guys, who I mentioned earlier. Like they wanted to see those guys in action, so you have a better kind of sense of what you have. I think, Wordley's been there multiple years. He's a little bit more of a known commodity now. Like he is also somebody who I thought was better as a freshman a couple years ago or a few years ago than he was certainly last year. He had his struggles with inconsistencies and command and things, but that's one of those guys. And I'd put him in the same group as with guys like Caleb Clark and Grant Clevenger, of who have shown it in flashes, but like if they can put it together to where you can trust them to, at the very least, get a couple of outs in a matchup-based situation, like Nebraska is going to be all the better for it. And so, he's one of those guys. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the story of Marquise Buford on the football team, where he lost his role a little bit late in his career, but was still a leader and somebody who made that team better internally. I think that's probably the floor for Jalen Wordley at this point, and still obviously an opportunity for him to get out there and affect this team on the field in a positive way too.
Then the other side of the battery, his brother Jeter came out with a heck of a debut for Nebraska in the romp over UConn, and then struggled his next two appearances. He got the day off on Sunday before coming in again on Monday. To use another cross-sport comparison, is it too reductive, or is it accurate to say that there are some shades of Braden Frager maybe in Jeter Worthley? Is it, enough that he just keeps his head above water? Or does Nebraska need Jeter Worthley to actually, swim against the current as a true freshman catcher?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got the makeup. I think, like you talked to him, he's a mature kid. He's someone who you would think would be a third or fourth year player just by how he carries himself. So I don't know that an opening weekend struggle will necessarily turn into a slump just because of his mindset. Again, he was somebody in the fall who led off and was a catalyst for the offense, scored a bunch of runs, got on base at a high clip. So that's still the case, even after opening weekend. Worst case, they like Mike Miller as well. He's another athletic option who like Worthley can play the outfield as well as lead off and catch behind the dish. So I think it's you hear all stories every year about freshmen in those situations, and it's almost like, hey, I forgot how to breathe. Like, I just need to breathe and let the game come, and things usually settle down. So I'm not ready to make any kind of a sweeping judgment on Jeter Worthley. I think they like his outlook long term. And this year, what I will say is I do think the challenge this weekend is a little greater in the sense that they're playing teams like Louisville and to a lesser extent Kansas State that like to run, and teams were able to run a little bit on Nebraska on opening weekend. And that's not all on Worthley. Some of that's on the pitching as well. But I think that's something else you have to watch against teams that want to push the envelope. They're going to look and see a freshman catcher back there and see if he can prove himself.
That was something else that was on the list to talk about, but we are up against the clock. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald, thank you as always for your time. Check out theworkomaha.com. We'll talk again soon. Evan, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Evan Bland joins us on our Aloe Fiber VIP line. That's where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. Quick break, wrapping up hour 2, full hour 3 to go. Your thoughts, as always, coming up next.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Are you looking for a fresh new hangout spot? Let me tell you about Liquid Assets Sports Bar, where Mondays mean new weekly drink and food features. With 23 taps, a full lineup of cans and bottles, and 40 TVs blasting every sports package out there, you'll never worry about missing a play. Savor high-end spirits at their stylish top-shelf bar, enjoy a healthy menu, family-friendly atmosphere, and catch all of your favorite teams every day. Doors open daily at 11 a.m. Liquid Assets Sports Bar, located at 2755 Jamie Lane in South Lincoln.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. Get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. When we're looking out for a homeowner, we're always keeping their budget in mind. Let's put numbers together and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
It's another new year and another exciting edition of the Nebraska Lottery's popular Cash Blast promotion. You know how it works. Until March 24th, buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled. So start out your 2026 with a bang. Enter the Cash Blast promotion today. 2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Is your furnace ready for the cold winter? Call the pros at Bryant. No matter what make or model, Bryant will perform a thorough heating check, giving you peace of mind, or steps to ensure a warm home throughout the season. Bryant also offers free second opinion heat exchange checks. Before you spend thousands on a new furnace, let Bryant check it free. Anytime you need furnace service or repair, just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wrapping up old school here on Hour 2 on a Wednesday. Austin Orman, Nick Sainer. Big thanks to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. His time and contributions. 402-464-5685 if there's anything on your mind. Nick, we drove past 2 times Baxter Arena. Same number of times you drove past Newton Motor Speedway out there in Iowa as well. But Love Volleyball Nebraska sponsors our 445 segments in the process of choosing a team name. You can watch Love Volleyball Nebraska there and other places potentially coming soon as well. Get your tickets, lovbneb.com. While we were talking with Evan, Nick, we got some verdicts handed down from the Big Ten Conference. No discipline for Nebraska head coach Fred Hoiberg. This is one where we can talk about, the reputation of Nebraska's program in the reffing. Is Nebraska getting the respect it deserves nationally and from officials in the next segment? But this is one where I think Fred Hoiberg's reputation precedes him. I think good on the Big Ten for not handing down discipline. Again, probably you know better. We know you know better. If this was a coach with a reputation for being hot-headed, a coach with a reputation for fan confrontations or whatever, even if it was Iowa's old head coach, potentially, and this happened, might have been some discipline, just a 1-game suspension or a fine, whatever it is. But I think Fred Hoiberg, being the classy guy that he is and understanding the context and the circumstances around it all, I think the Big Ten ended up making the right decision on that.
Yeah, we have a situation where obviously the Big Ten announces, like you said, no punishment to Fred. And on the other side, you have Iowa come out and somewhat take responsibility for allowing it to even become a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is. Nebraska had to deal with it a couple of years ago from the security standpoint. Nebraska had to come out because I believe it was the Purdue game where Nebraska stormed the floor and Matt Painter was a little frustrated post-game while talking to us about the court storming and things like that. And Nebraska put additional security in place and additional measurements and other details in place to combat that. Hopefully Iowa does too, right? Now, this is going to come across as snarky. I don't mean it this way. It was Iowa's first ranked win in 2 years, right? Out of practice. It's in the past.
Rivalry game.
Right? Rivalry game, a little bit of extra juice. Students are in a different spot than where they are at Nebraska. Like, there's other things involved. It's in the past. Let's just talk about the ball game. I'm sure Fred. I wouldn't put it past Fred Hoiberg to come out in his next media conference and also make an announcement apologizing for his actions and things like that. Also,
presumptively Friday ahead of Nebraska and Penn State. We'll go to break. When we get back, let's talk more about this game a little bit. Some questions on the officiating, less so the individual calls, more big picture. Does Nebraska deserve more respect from the Big Ten in that front? Fred Hoiberg's demeanor regarding that. Plenty more of your thoughts as well. Sutter Heyman Jewelers text line open for you. This is Old School, brought to you by Graham Tire.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
Nutrition Authority invites you to check out the top-selling Epic Effects. Epic Effects is designed to help blast body fat, curb cravings, and provide smooth energy so you can cruise through the day. Home of free samples and better than internet pricing, Epic Effects can only be found in Nutrition Authority. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. Get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. When we're looking out for a homeowner, we're always keeping their budget in mind. Let's put numbers together and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Diode Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diode Tech online at diodetech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
A new year means it's time to try new things. If you haven't tried Führer's cheese spread yet, the time is now. For the days you don't want to go to the gym, don't worry. Führer's cheese spread is there to cheer you up. And for the days you do get to the gym, why not celebrate when you get back with the best dip around? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fuhrer's cheese spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind, crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos, wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas, topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos.
Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and on behalf of the entire Koppel team, we would like to say thank you to all of our loyal customers and employees that have allowed us to become one of the most successful GM dealerships in the country for the past 50 years. So we are celebrating that with some huge discounts. Right now, we have up to $13,500 off MSRP or 0% APR on select new models, and new Blazer EVs are leasing for $279 a month with 0 down. So check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit. See dealer for details.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln, this is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Coy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Woo! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time. And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back. One more hour of Old School here on a Wednesday. I'm Austin. He's Nick. Old School brought to you by the good folks over at Graham Tire Company. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. 402-464-5685. Be a part of the show. Nick, what are the odds that Jay Foreman is sitting down for his birthday dinner now? Is he an early eater? Is he a later eater? Is he on the way? Where do we think Jay Foreman is right now?
Well, here's the deal. He did text me about an hour ago saying, I am no longer going to dinner.
What?
So something must have happened.
Oh, I hate that for him.
No dinner for Jay. Well, I'm sure he's eaten dinner, just not the establishment that he initially was going to, which is a bummer.
I hope for Jay's sake that he is at least grilling. I think it's nice enough that it says it's 60 outside right now. A little breezy, but not windy.
Got a feel for him. I know. It was
Poor guy.
I will say this, where Jay was going to go, I have never been.
Same. And there's a reason we've never been.
Should we go?
We need to.
I don't know. I think we've spent enough time together the last 24 hours.
Well, we can save it for, let's see, approxiitely 4 months from now. How about
Thank you. That works perfect.
No filling in on anyone's shows.
Yes.
You know, we got to stay separate. You got yours.
Yep.
We have mine. You stay in the mornings. I'll stay in the afternoons.
Yes.
And then we'll meet in 4 months.
Maybe we'll go for lunch. Maybe they have cheaper prices at lunch.
Hopefully,
lunch specials.
That's the only way. That's the only way that this is working out. Kind of a Hawkeye special in some ways.
Yeah.
Last night, Iowa takes down Nebraska 57-52. Got some assorted texts that we left for a reason here to lead off the 5 o'clock hour. Nick, let's get to this from 3037. We're going to ignore the second part of this. Is Frager getting better? Braden Frager obviously had the middle part of his freshman year interrupted by the ankle injury that he suffered against Washington. Maybe some flashbacks to what happened to Bearcade Buchtengel when he starts playing really well down the stretch last year, came back and wasn't quite himself. Braden Frager has had some moments since then, but you haven't had the Braden Frager game since that ankle injury. I think it's fair to wonder if the ankle is still affecting him, whether it's physically or mentally, if there's such a thing as the freshman wall, whether that's, again, mentally or physically, or if it's as simple as, okay, scouts out, you got to adjust now. Welcome to life in the Big Ten. Where are you at with Braden Frager's, development? Is he getting better?
I think obviously it's hard for us to say because we only see it 20 minutes at a time. I should say 40 minutes at a time, but really for Braden, averaging it's a little over 20 minutes a game, so about 20 minutes at a time. Last night was, I will say, that the first time that I think we saw him make multiple, okay, he's noticeably a freshman type of decisions, right? The one that stands out is the pass where Sturtz was able to intercept it. He went the length of the floor, tried to draw an and one. Frager did a really nice job of contesting it at the rim without fouling. In a key moment of the game, you talk about being able to turn that arena on its head. If Sturtz would have been able to, been rewarded with an and one at that moment, that place would have erupted even more than it already did. Ben McCollum ended up calling a timeout and so on and so forth. The rest of the game played out the way it did. But here's the thing. Nebraska was at their best when Frager brought a spark and a bounce off of the bench.
An edge.
And it goes back to exactly what we talked about in hour number one and what we discussed on various, pregame, postgame stuff last night, where it was refreshing and it was enjoyable to see somebody come off the bench. And number one, I'm never going to sit here and question effort, because I don't think effort is Nebraska basketball's issue.
No,
it's the relentless foot on the gas. We are going to take all doubt out of this gym. We are better than you. We know it. You know it. Now it's time for us to show it. And Braden Frager, some that don't necessarily watch Nebraska basketball consistently, they might call it arrogance. But also Nebraska at times needed that. They needed that edge. They needed that mindset. And in the early season, when Braden Frager was showing up and showing out and kind of burst onto the scene, Nebraska had that. Now, once again, like you said, it's clearly speculated, and I'm curious that, to find out at the end of the year, hey, how much was that ankle bothering you? We saw him get up last night and be able to dunk one home. But there was also a moment in transition where he hit the layup where you and I both agreed, man, if that was a month ago, he's slamming it. He's going to at least attempt to go and flush it down. Now, he got 2 points, safe than sorry, sure. But once again, that edge, that mindset is something that the team feels like they're lacking a little bit.
62-96. You're being a bit of a spoil sport here. He's got the portal on his mind, his words, not mine. Really? We don't have to bring that up right now. Maybe not. I think that's too speculative to even get into. Nebraska has 5 regular season games left, and I really hope that's not the case, that that's on his mind. And if it is, that's a problem. I don't know why it would be at this point. This is a guy that's talked, for the one transfer portal thing that popped up on social media.
Yeah.
How many interviews has he done, Nick, and even leading into college, about how this is the team I grew up rooting for. This is this program I wanted to play for. I grew up going to games all the time. Maybe situations have changed, but again, if he is worrying about it, that's a problem. Nebraska's got to get that under control, and he's got to reckon with himself. I just have a hard time believing that that's the case right now.
I have a tough time believing it too. And please don't read everything you see, or I should say, believe everything you see on the on TikTok or wherever you're getting. Because I saw the thing about TikTok or whatever. This is a guy that out of high school, he had 5 offers according to 24/7 Sports, and they were all pretty regionally based. Iowa, Iowa State, Northwestern, Creighton, and obviously Nebraska as well. But this is where, once again, as we talk about the future of Nebraska basketball, I hope that a season like this allows Fred Hoiberg and his staff a little bit of additional respect. And what I mean by that is, if you're Braden Frager, think about the last year and a half it's been for him. He reclassifies from 24 to from the 25 class to the 2024 class. He ends up redshirting according to plan for Nebraska basketball. And up until these last 3, 4, 5 games that he's played in, it could not have gone better.
Yeah.
He was in conversations for 6th man of the year in the Big Ten Conference. He's in conversations about freshman of the year until Keaton Wagler comes, and bursts onto the scene. It could not have gone better. If Fred Hoiberg could sit there and say, look, Braden, if you need any proof that we care for you and that we're doing something correct, look at what's going on right now. And I think they still can, right? And looking past Braden Frager to the Quentin Rhymes of the world. We talked about it with Colin Rice, with Jacob Lanier coming into the fold next year. You hope that even Leo Curtis, who's not officially redshirting,
he can't anymore.
Yes, he's not officially redshirting, but is somebody that they're going to probably value going forward. There's proof in the pudding, and you hope that the guys just stick around. But in this day and age of college athletics, you can't worry about that right now on February 18th.
No, what you can worry about is Braden Frager getting driven past by Bennett Sturts at times last night. Iowa did the Illinois thing, Nick. Iowa did the Rutgers last year thing, the USC thing, even at times the Illinois thing from last year, and this year, of course, is they hunted matchups. They went super NBA style around their heliocentric star and said, go make something happen. I was less than impressed with Frager on the ball defensively. That's a place where a lot of young guys can struggle. I think Frager's pretty good off the ball for the most part, with some freshman moments here and there, but when he can be that weak side guy coming over to trap, that's where you really get his activity. He's good shooting passing lanes. I thought Braden Frager got caught flat-footed a couple times looking around, waiting for a screen, and Sturts would drive. I thought there were a couple times he was in the air, right? Maybe not the best closeout, so Sturts timed it really well. Or here's the other thing, Bennett Sturts, dare I use sneaky athletic, but a good first step.
Very.
Frager got beat. That's clear. That's obvious. It led to some paint touches for Iowa. That's something you can fix. That's something you can correct with better communication, with better technique, with better scouting, and with just growing up. That's something that, was a concern for Nebraska last night. But again, you hold Bennett Sturts, to 3 more points than shots he took. You made his life tough. Even when he got past Nebraska's defenders, they were picking on Price Sanford for a lot of the time. Price Sanford didn't get toasted. He wasn't great. Didn't get a bunch of, one-on-one stops, but he did his job. He competed. He hung in there for the most part. Frager did as well. And okay, there's another thing for Nebraska to adjust to. If teams have dynamic lead guards, I could see Donovan Dent doing this for UCLA. I could see Diggy Coit doing this for Maryland at times. If they're going to bring, Nebraska's weakest defender that they've targeted in that matchup up to set a screen, and Nebraska is just going to auto switch it, everyone else has to be on high alert. And again, Nebraska's defense wasn't really the issue yesterday, aside from finishing possessions like Big Daddy Travis points out.
Here's the thing. This all goes back, and then we're going to have the officiating conversation at some point, but this all goes back to a lot of the things that happened last night are fixable, or at least grow, or at least lessons, right? That you can take away. Nebraska, if you would have told us, I think before this game, that Nebraska would hold Iowa to 6 of 23 from beyond the 3-point line. Remind me how to pronounce Connor's last name, because it's
Cooper Koch.
Cooper Koch. If
looks
you
like
said,
Sam Cook, pronounced Cooper
Yes,
Koch.
and that's why I wanted to keep saying Coke, and I knew it was not. Cooper Koch, 2 for 7 from beyond the 3-point line, hit 2 early in the game. Bennett Sturts, 2 of 8 from beyond the 3-point line.
Hit a backbreaker.
Yeah, combined 4 of 15. And obviously there was the one that he drew the foul on Sam Hoiberg, and I think a lot of that came from Ben McCollum getting in the official's ear earlier in that, just a couple of minutes or a couple of possessions before that. But where, Nebraska forced Iowa to do essentially what they force a lot of opponents to do all season long, shoot poorly from the perimeter. You remember Fletcher Lawyer is one that sticks out in that game against Purdue. 4 for 17 from beyond the 3-point line for one of Purdue's best guards in Fletcher Lawyer. This one on the road in their home gym, they forced 2 of Iowa's few perimeter threats to go 4 for 15 from beyond the 3-point line. The rest of the team then combined went 2 of 8. It's once again, Nebraska, a lot of things just goes back to Nebraska didn't hit enough shots. But then on top of it, I know we started this with Braden Frager and that conversation. There's so much more than just to say Braden Frager and the closeouts. And I know there's a lot of texts about, was he guarding the wrong side? Was he forcing Sturts to go to the wrong side? Like, I look at that and I say, isn't that something that all those assistants on Nebraska staff would notice? If that was the case, they would have pulled Braden Frager earlier. Like, they would correct that mid-game. Like, we can't sit here and act naive to sit here and think, oh, well, Nebraska just now noticed today when they watched film, oh, man, Braden Frager was forcing Sturts to the wrong side. No, there was many times, Austin, you and I sitting next to each other, we looked and said, all right, you know what? If Sturts is going to make that shot, you live with it. Because he made some acrobatic shots last night.
Yeah, you don't want to allow the paint touch. You don't want to allow the perimeter access, but it was, forced the right way in the scheme. Bandit says Nebraska got torched on the offensive boards. They don't go after them. Everyone turns and runs back on defense immediately after the shot. Yeah, by design. Nebraska had an uncharacteristically positive day on the offensive glass against Northwestern. I was a little surprised that wasn't a bigger focus against an Iowa team that wasn't an elite rebounding unit and is more opportunistic even than Nebraska in transition in terms of picking its spots, right? They want to get the ball to Bennett Sturts, have him dribble it up. I didn't think Iowa was a huge threat in transition outside of live ball turnovers. I was a little surprised Nebraska didn't pursue those. But to me, the issue wasn't Nebraska's lack of offensive rebounds. It was the amount that they gave up to Iowa. Big Berg points out as well, getting outscored by 10 points and, points off turnovers. Iowa converted Nebraska turnovers into points. Nebraska didn't convert Iowa turnovers into points. 82-53, the book on Nebraska is out. Teams know that physicality beats them, also extending way out beyond the 3-point line and preventing Nebraska's weaving and cutting. We talked about all of that in kind of the middle part of hour 1 and into hour 2, some of the adjustments. Let's get to Angry Rams fan on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line. I don't feel like the refs were particularly bad one way or the other, but it had the makings of a game that they let get out of hand by letting everything go and then tried to tighten it up instead of just staying consistent and made it hard for both teams to adjust. Not exactly what you've been saying, Nick, but a lot closer, I think, to some of what you've been saying really over the course of the last day.
Yeah, I felt like there's a couple of different angles. First, we'll stay here. I'll do big picture. Doesn't matter if Nebraska's playing this game or not. I would like to see officials. I think it's important to get control of a game early on from the get-go. If you can control and once again, like establish the parameters of what you're going to play, what does the team need to do? And part of that is lay out the ground rules and allow me to work within them. And I sit there, Fred Hoiberg in that first half, some of the decisions, in addition to his just usual belief in I want to sit guys with 2 fouls for the rest of the half, part of the conversation, and I would not blame Fred Hoiberg if we asked him and said, hey, what was the thought process on, taking Jamarcus out, in addition to just not that Fred Hoiberg owes us an answer, but if he were to come back and say, look, guys, the officials were so random and it wasn't necessarily predictable on what they were going to call. And there were moments where they would bail Iowa out or they'd bail Nebraska out, and like vice versa. It was just a hard first half to predict. Then I'm good with that. Right. The problem that I had is that in the second half, there was a moment where there were 4, almost 6 fouls called within a minute and 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And that is what bothers me the most, is when you allow the first half to play the way it did. That's fine if you want to set this precedent of let's play it physical and we're going to play it rough. Like, let's go ahead. But then in the second half, if you want to start touchy, that's where it's hard for these guys to adjust on the fly.
It absolutely true. I think the other part of it is that it got to 3-0 Iowa fouls committed versus Nebraska fouls committed. And it felt to me like, okay, the refs are going to start calling something, right? Price Sanford got hit for one that, okay, they played through in the first half, didn't in the second half. But I think that the biggest issue, as I see it here, Nick, is, well, number one, you've mentioned it, Nebraska's style of play is just so different than a lot of Big Ten teams, which in a lot of cases is to Nebraska's credit, but officials might need to learn how to ref Nebraska. Is Nebraska getting that level of respect from the league to look at how Nebraska plays, to understand what they want to do? And, not saying Nebraska should get, a more sensitive whistle because they play a different way. Nebraska's got to find ways to be tougher and fight through contact. But if you know that you have to be more attentive to the action, that there is more off-ball movement, I'm not saying Price Sanford deserves superstar calls, call the game consistent. But if Nebraska's going to move around more, there's naturally going to be more jersey tugging, more getting in the way. You pointed out maybe more illegal screens on Nebraska. 3574 says, have you addressed the officiating yet? Same crew that called the Purdue game last week. The one ref clearly hates Nebraska. I don't think that's true. I don't think it is some overt, anti-Nebraska bias. I think people are still wrapping their mind around Nebraska being good at basketball, still trying to adjust to what Nebraska wants to do in the context of the Big Ten because they run a unique system for this conference where these guys ref the majority of their games. And for right or wrong, it still says Nebraska across their chest.
Yeah.
Nebraska is still working through earning the benefit of the doubt, which is where there's a little part of me that wants Fred Hoiberg to go scorched earth. I think he's done a good job of being respectful and standing up for his own guys at different times, not just last night, but in other games as well. But I also think that Nebraska, again, fair or not, is still earning the respect of officials. Nebraska is still working toward that beneficial whistle. Bad calls matter. I know this sounds like justifying it for the officials, but these guys are human, which is why it's hard for them to set the hard and fast rules and do it consistently. Because Nebraska is still relatively novel for the Big Ten Conference, they're not used to looking around as much or knowing what to look for. It doesn't change the fact that they need to get it right. And Nebraska has been on the short end of the stick its fair number of times. But, Nick, these guys are reffing games across the league. We're in the Nebraska bubble. We hear it. But how many years now have we had conversations about Big Ten officiating, whether it's baseball, basketball, or football specifically? What did the SEC do when it got serious about basketball? It invested in its refs. And I don't have the Ken Palm ref numbers pulled up here in front of me, but I think the Big Ten would tell you, well, look, our refs grade out pretty well. Okay, that's fine. Then that needs to translate to the games, and you have to be very clear with your fans to grow the product. And what's a good way to grow the product? To win in March. Is the Big Ten setting its teams up for success in March with how it officiates them? I don't know. If you want to be the rough and tumble physical league, okay, that's fine. But then it has to be applied more consistently. And if guys aren't willing or able to apply that standard, they need to be reassigned, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted this out last night. I said, since the first half, the entire crew has had zero control of the game. And of course, it's going to carry over to the second half. And in traditional officiating fashion, they will try to make up for it by blowing the whistle too much. And this is not, I want to be very clear with this. This is not me trying to go get on a high horse behind this microphone and say Nebraska is the only one that's not benefiting from this.
Far from.
Or that Nebraska is the lone victim, because I'm sure it's easy for us to view it that way because we are in this Nebraska bubble and we watch every game diligently from start to finish, and we analyze every single play, every single possession, every single moment. I'm sure if we did the same exact thing for every Iowa game, you'd feel the same way. I'm sure same way for Purdue and Northwestern. Like, you can go down the list, and I'm sure that there's been a plethora of times this season where every single team has felt like not the officiating's against them, because it's less about that for me. It's that it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me the most is try to your mentality, in my opinion, should be we're trying to do the same thing in the first half as in the second half. And as you pointed out, there were some big moments last night where some calls were made or not called. And I thought last night was also a great indication of league-wide decisions and changes that need to be amended. And maybe this is a college basketball thing to where challenges. We saw a moment last night where in the final moments of the game, before Nebraska had to start fouling, and yes, you can combat this answer and this point I'm going to make with Nebraska, rebound the ball defensively, just control the basketball. However, they didn't. That's part of the game. The ball, from our vantage point, looked to go out of bounds on Iowa.
Yeah.
Nebraska, down by one possession at the time, would have gotten the ball back with over a minute to play. Because Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg, despite successfully challenging twice earlier in the game
that people that were texting us during the game said were very clear and obvious to an official standing within 6 feet away with a decent angle.
They were not able to challenge again because in college basketball, you lose the challenge, but you keep the timeout.
Yeah.
Even if you're successful with a challenge, you can only challenge a maximum of twice in a game.
Yeah.
In a game. That was the first, now granted, that's the first night where it's been an issue. But it's things like that I point to and I go, what are we doing?
It's the snowball effect. It compounds.
Yes, because you're asking for a moment like last night to unfold in the Big Ten championship or in the Big Ten semis, where there's a lot more on the line than just a team going 22-4 instead of 23-3.
Yeah.
There's a lot more on the line. I'm in line with you surrender your timeout if you unsuccessfully challenge a call and you lose the challenge.
Yeah.
But isn't the whole point of officiating and this to get it right?
Should be.
And if it is, then what are we doing? Or why isn't there somebody on the bench saying, hey, let's pause. Let's take a moment for this. Because there's a lot of other, that's like a league-wide, basketball-wide thing that I'm sitting there kind of scratching my head at. Whether that happens to Nebraska, Iowa, even if if roles were reversed, I would sit there and been like, man, that sucks for Iowa that they can't challenge that. What a stupid rule that is.
Yeah. Big Bird asks, is the backcourt violation challengeable? No, not in that moment. It's out of bounds. I think it's timing. Goaltending, I think, is also on the list. It's a pretty short list of things that you can actually review.
Yeah.
And so that's another one though that it looked awkward.
Yeah.
Because Jamarcus Lawrence was close to half court. He went behind his back from right to left. His feet, his handed crossed. The ball never crossed half court. It's hard to judge that in real time, but you're paid to get it right. Let's get to wet blanket and then we'll go to break. I agree with your point, but the specific play that you're talking about was called correctly.
And it might have been. And that's why I clearly tried to lay out, like, it might have been called correctly from our vantage point, 15 rows up. It looked like it could have been out on Iowa. It felt like Nebraska players on the floor felt like it was out on Iowa and worth a look. Where if you have a number one, you can use it as a timeout, because even if you lose your timeout, you can at least conversate while the review is going on in a crucial moment of the game. Yeah. Like there's benefits to at least trying at that point. That's why I was very clear with it. Might have been out on Iowa. I wasn't able to see it. They didn't show a replay on the screen. But ultimately the whole, as we talk officiating and league rules and league-wide issues, that's one of them that kind of popped up last night.
Let's talk big moments. Nebraska came through early in the year, hasn't happened as consistently in the last 6 games. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman, Old School, brought to you by Graham Tire. Back to talk Nebraska ball, big moments when we return.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
It's another new year and another exciting edition of the Nebraska Lottery's popular Cash Blast promotion. You know how it works. Until March 24th, buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled. So start out your 2026 with a bang. Enter the Cash Blast promotion today. 2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
Take your operation to the next level. Right now at Landmark Implement, take advantage of special financing on model year 2019 through 2025 John Deere tractors, sprayers, and combines. Take advantage of a 12-month fixed interest waiver, followed by John Deere Financial standard rates, or choose from multiple split rate offers with approved credit. Stop by your local Landmark Implement or visit us online at landmarkimp.com today and experience the Landmark difference.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Diode Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diode Tech online at diodetech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Husker Nation, your perfect softball plan is here. With the flexible Husker Softball On Deck deal, you choose the action. For just $38, pick any 4 games plus 1 from the can't-miss Iowa series. Build your own schedule, catch your favorite matchups, and cheer on the Huskers your way all season long. But don't wait, these mini plans won't last. Visit huskers.com/tickets and make your own mini plan today. Go Big Red.
Lincoln's Coffee Week is now Coffee Month in February. With 25 participating venues, visit and check into at least 10 for a chance to win a $250 gift card to the venue of your choice. More details at lincoln.org/coffee-month, brought to you by Visit Lincoln.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Dana Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Dana Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com. All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320. Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get 1 half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A couple segments to go here on Old School. Austin Orman, Nick Sainert with you. Jay Foreman back in the building tomorrow. 402-464-5685. Keep your thoughts coming here throughout the course of the rest of your show. Appreciate everyone who has chimed in so far. Too many to name. 3203, Chris, Virginia Pirate, 2052, and many more as well. Nick, I think another part of the officiating conversation and the Nebraska consternation around it, and also in general, is that Nebraska was so good in the game's big moments early on. And that's kind of slipped. I mean, think through Nebraska's early season schedule. Early in the year, there weren't maybe as many of those big moments, but then you start getting into some of the more interesting games. Think about New Mexico. Nebraska made some plays late. Oklahoma, Nebraska came back and hit pretty much every shot. Kansas State.
I was just going to say the first one, it doesn't look good because Kansas State just fired Jerome Tang, but the Kansas State game's the first one that came into my mind. You come out firing on all cylinders in the first half. You allow Kansas State to get back into it, and it's dicey. And I remember we come out of that game going, that's that veteran leadership they talked about, the poise, taking on what Fred Hoiberg's demeanor is. This team is fun. They got what it takes. That's what it was after Kansas State.
Okay, then you go a little bit without, a big moment till you go on the road at Illinois.
Yeah.
Okay, that one works out Nebraska's way. They answer with a Jamarcus Lawrence 3. Michigan State, they get the rink mast made 3 to go ahead. Jeremy Fears dribbles it off his leg, and Nebraska ends up winning that one by 2 points. Ohio State, Buckeyes rally to take the lead. Nebraska responds. They make plays, hit free throws down the stretch. Indiana, Nebraska got the breaks. Indiana missed a couple shots. Nebraska played not flawless basketball, but in the game's biggest moments, they were clutch, right? They ended up blowing out Oregon by being good at the end of the first half in a big moment where that game could have gone either way. Good early in the second half against Northwestern to win that one. And then you start getting into that stretch where you can start to see, okay, maybe haven't been huge moments in this one, but maybe some cracks starting to show in the edifice. Washington pushed Nebraska. I don't think that was really a 10-point game like the final score would indicate, but hey, that's what it tells you. Minnesota, Nebraska extremely flat in the first half, but they were good down the stretch. And then you get to the crunch time games again late. Michigan, you don't have the player step up and get the stop or hit the shot. Again, valiant effort. We've talked about that one, but okay, Michigan, you don't do it. Illinois, they made the sequence of plays with, 6 minutes to go or so.
Yeah.
Not Nebraska, and you can never get back over the hump. Purdue, maybe shouldn't have been down that much to begin with. Probably should have never been back in that game at the end to begin with. But, Rink Mass misses the free throw at the end of regulation that Nebraska ends up getting the stop to force overtime. Sam Hoiberg, I think if this game would have been played in December, probably hits that wing 3 that puts Nebraska up 4 on its final, real offensive possession, but he missed it. And then, Northwestern is what it is. In last night's Iowa game, a few big moments that stand out to me. Number one, Bennett Sturts slapping Price Sanford's hand on a block. I think he got credit for that one because he emphatically rejected one from Sam Hoiberg a couple possessions earlier. But then he runs right through Price Sanford's hand. Couldn't hear the slap in the loud arena, but it was pretty clear just based off, from where we were sitting. Looked like there's a lot of hand involved in that one. And the high five foul is a foul now. You think about all the moments that play was stopped with Nebraska with advantage in transition potentially. Yeah. The DeMarcus Lawrence one certainly stands out where he gets, brought down to the floor in the backcourt, gets reviewed for a foul and no contact. And then the biggest one, the rink mast screen.
Rink mast screen, the double foul, that was off of a miss.
Right. The rink mast one really stands out to me because I tweeted this at the time, that's the most animated I've seen rink mast.
Oh, yeah.
Over a bad call in a long time, right? Rink will give a big clap. He'll look down, he'll spike a basketball and catch it from time to time. We don't see Rink Mast throw his head and his hands up to the sky like, what was that?
Yeah.
And you'll see people arguing that, okay, maybe he stuck his hip out a little bit. Maybe he leaned into the screen. Incidental. That is so meager compared to some of the other ones that weren't called or what it took to rise to the level of an offensive foul previous in the game. And it came in a big moment in the game. And so I think that when those calls are in those key moments of the game and they go against Nebraska, you feel the impact a little bit more. And Nebraska just hasn't made those one or two extra plays, either immediately before or immediately after the call or no call that renders it, moot like it did in the first 20 plus games.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, and just for, I guess, even an unbiased conversation here, Nebraska is at times guilty of maybe a little bit of dramatic showing. Right?
They like to live in the gray.
Yeah, right. And so I say this understanding and acknowledging that Nebraska is not perfect when I say this. There were a couple of times last night where, and this is part of the officials understanding who you're officiating on that night. And especially when you're specific to a conference and assigned to a conference, especially at this point in the season, you should have a decent idea of what teams are about. right? And if not, then like Terry Oglesby, who is the director of officials and is in charge of assigning officials for the Big Ten Conference for these games, that there's got to be a conversation had with him. And we know Fred Hoiberg has talked with him before. After the Michigan game, we know that he talked to Oglesby. I think here's at the end of the day, Iowa, and there's been teams in recent weeks that have acknowledged and have seen that, hey, we can maybe try to sell a little bit on these screens when Nebraska uses so many of them, that out of the peripheral or out of, just out of in the moment when the crowd is as loud as it was, when it comes to a crescendo, that, hey, guess what? There's a chance that something illegal happened. And ultimately, in a big moment, like you said, you feel it more, but it is also, that is where whether it's Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan, Purdue, understand who you're officiating and don't allow the moment to get too big. We talk about it all the time with players.
Yeah.
Officials, don't let the moment get too big. You have a lot of power with the whistle. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's best to swallow it, even if Nebraska's on the losing side of it.
I saw this and I'm working to confirm it. Yeah. Jeffrey Anderson, one of the officials, Mr. Heines last night, is a Final Four caliber referee.
There you go.
Which goes to show one of two things. I think number one, that they're human, they can have a bad night, or if that's a Final Four ref, they can still get caught up in that emotion and officiate that way. Then we got to have a bigger conversation, like we tried to do with the Big Ten. Anecdotally, Nick, I know we don't have any hard data to prove this, but as you think through some of these moments and really going back to, let's say, Oregon or Washington for Nebraska, has it been a bigger issue in your mind that Nebraska hasn't gotten the ticky-tack calls, or Nebraska is not benefiting in the big moments, right? Is it that Nebraska is, at a bigger deficit when the big moments come? Or do you think that some of those big moments could have been prevented if, there was more attention paid in the first, let's say, 15 minutes of the second half?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it that way. Off the rip, I think I'm going to lean towards big moments, because immediately I lean towards last night, a couple of them. And then Michigan, where the Sam Hoiberg charge, no call. That was the one that instantly popped into my mind. So I think emotionally, I'm going to lean towards the big moments. But also, once again, like I want to make it very clear that I don't think Nebraska's the lone victim here. Like, I don't think Nebraska, frankly, like, as much as we want to, as consumers and for the fans out there, like, of Nebraska basketball, as much as we'd like to sit there and complain until we can't complain anymore to the Big Ten about how, hey, you hate Nebraska and you're against Nebraska, I don't believe in this, like, intentional bias. It just feels like Nebraska's always on the wrong side of it. But as I said about an hour ago, if we were to sit and be in a Michigan bubble or in a Purdue bubble, I'm sure there's a lot of times that we can point to and say, man, Purdue's just always on the wrong side of it.
Yeah.
Just naturally so. The only way you can't is if you're winning every single game. And no team in this conference or in the country, obviously, is winning every single game.
Well, it was actually this conference that did it the last time, but that was 40-odd years ago.
I guess Miami, Ohio. Are they always on the right side of it?
I doubt it. Even at 26-0 right there. Yeah, I mean, the big moments are absolutely the ones that stand out, but it does lead me to at least wonder how many of those big moments would be prevented if, Nebraska got the jersey tugs earlier in the game. I would also say the Iowa fans that we heard, Nick, and saw on social media were saying, well, the refs were the only thing that kept Nebraska in that game. And I think your point on consistency, even if I disagree with the Iowa fans, I think especially early in the second half where, Iowa got called for 3 fouls. Oh, 3 whole fouls. Some of them that went uncalled on Nebraska, you can make the argument some days good verticality, jumping straight up, right? Defender has a right to the space too.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a foul. So sometimes you jump straight up, but the ref said, oh, from my angle, you're leaning forward. You brought the arms down. You made unnecessary contact. You lost your legal guarding position. Nebraska embodied Bennett Sturts on some drives. Sometimes that's a foul.
They got away with a couple of bumps last night. Nebraska did. I have no problem admitting that. That's where it's just the consistency piece. Like, I just want whatever. If you want to let them play from the start, that's fine. I'm not trying to champion here or protest here for them to call every ticky-tack touch a foul.
And Nebraska wouldn't want that either in the course of the game.
And Nebraska doesn't want that either. However, a team like Nebraska that centers their offense around movement and moving without the basketball, and you specifically put Price Sanford out there, this is the easy easy example. You specifically have Price out there to basically lose defenders away from the basketball and get open looks when he can't do that because defenders, not just Iowa, but defenders over the last couple of games, really since Michigan, are holding and grabbing his jersey or grabbing his wrist. And there was a moment last night where Price Sanford literally tripped and slipped and fell because the Iowa player slipped out of his hand and swiped his leg underneath him, hit his forehead on the floor right in front of the referee, and nothing was called.
Oh, sorry, didn't see it. I was looking somewhere else. Where else are you looking?
That's the type of thing where, once again, I am not trying to champion for it to be a ticky-tack ball game. However, understand what teams are trying to do, understand how teams are playing. That's part of the responsibility for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Same as it is in football. Understand, hey, what does Nebraska's offensive line like to do in football? How does this guy play mentality-wise? Hey, when Brad Davison from Wisconsin came in a couple of years ago, every official knew, all right, we need to keep our eyes just a little more peeled for number 34 in Wisconsin's jersey.
Yeah.
It's part of doing your job. And when you fall short time after time, despite who's playing in the game, we can turn on a Big Ten basketball game tonight and kind of feel the same way, I would imagine. Which, by the way, going on right now at Penn State, Rutgers at the half up by 19, 39-20 on the Penn State Nittany Lions in Happy Valley. Penn State coming to Nebraska on Saturday.
Those two teams are probably most at home in each other's home gyms. Very similar, comparable environments, but good context to have ahead of Nebraska and Penn State, like Nick said, on Saturday. Back one final time for Old School in just a moment.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get ready, Lincoln. It's a huge weekend at the Icebox. The Lincoln Stars are back home Friday and Saturday taking on their conference rival Fargo Force in a critical push in the playoffs. Both nights, enjoy $8 vodka Red Bulls while you cheer on the Stars as they battle for postseason positioning. Saturday's game is being presented by Eagle Raceway, so expect even more high-octane excitement. Puck drops at 7 o'clock on Friday and 6 o'clock on Saturday. Don't miss your chance to be part of the push for the playoff energy. Secure your seats now at LincolnStars.com and be there when it matters most.
Lincoln's Coffee Week is now Coffee Month in February. With 25 participating venues, visit and check into at least 10 for a chance to win a $250 gift card to the venue of your choice. More details at lincoln.org/coffee-month, brought to you by Visit Lincoln.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
This is Jordy Ball for Anderson Ford. For years, Anderson has relied on an exceptional customer experience. But just this once, they're going to rely on a really great pitch.
Right now, lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for $199 per month.
Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1007055. Previous service letter. $199 per month. Lease for 36 months with approved credit. 7,500 miles per year. 6,800 to assignee. No security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Plus take new retail delivery from the Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26. See dealer for details.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived.
Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320. Hey fellas, let's take a quick time out here. February is American Heart Month, and listen, men are the worst at getting checked out. We'll watch every stat in the league, but ignore the most important one. That's our own heart health. So here's the plan. Talk to your doctor about scheduling a quick heart screening at Advanced Medical Imaging. It's fast, it's easy, and it could save your life. Your family needs you around a lot more than your fantasy team does. Make the call, get the checkup, take care of your heart at Advanced Medical Imaging.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Husker Nation, your perfect softball plan is here. With the flexible Husker softball on deck deal, you choose the action. For just $38, pick any 4 games plus 1 from the Can't Miss Iowa series. Build your own schedule, catch your favorite matchups, and cheer on the Huskers your way all season long. But don't wait, these mini plans won't last. Visit huskers.com/tickets and make your own mini plan today. Go Big Red.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're wrapping up Old School here on a Wednesday. Austin Orman and Nick Sainer been hanging out with you guys for about 3 hours. Been hanging out together for a lot longer than that. Enjoying every second of it. Nick, I think at the end of the day here, use the Jay Foreman phrase at the end of the day. I know Eric's going to say something about that here momentarily. It's going to be really important for Nebraska to get that swagger back. And how do you do that? Just beat Penn State.
Yeah.
Leave no doubt, right? Put together as complete a performance as you can against a team in the bottom of the Big Ten standings, and not a team that's just there because of how tough the Big Ten is, but a team that deserves to be at the bottom of the Big Ten standings in a lot of ways right now. Not going to say, all qualms and all conversations will be put to rest after, Nebraska, finding a way to blow out a pretty bad Penn State team right now. But holy cow, you just need the winning feeling. You need the good vibes. You can do it at home. Get right with another home game coming up. When it's all said and done, the objective right now is Saturday.
Exactly. It absolutely is. And understand once again, like the whole synopsis of yesterday is, hey, there was a lot of things that you could have done better that are within your control. Mm-hmm. Take care of those before Saturday, right? Like Fred Hoiberg talked about it a couple of weeks ago, how they had to kind of have some quick turnarounds. They get a couple of days here, 3 days in between, right? I'm sure today was a lot of recovery stuff. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, probably hit it hard. Friday, just get some prep, and then Saturday it's go time. And you get Penn State and Maryland in that order, and you feel good about your chances as both of those teams come to Lincoln. You should be able to protect home floor against both of those teams, and hopefully, like you said, come out, dominate, leave no doubt, and prove to everybody once again why you're a top 15 team.
2-1 weekend on tap for Husker baseball?
I think so. I think it's not too much to ask. You're going to see better arms than you saw last weekend, better probably approaches to the plate. Evan made a really good point about running. The traffic on the base paths, I'm going to be looking very much forward to seeing how Nebraska's, not only Jeter Worthley and Mike in behind the plate do, but also how does Nebraska with Rob Childress and that pitching staff, how do they monitor when guys get on base?
The one guy Nebraska took off the base paths in that regard was a pickoff. from Price Bender there in the final game.
Who Price had himself a pretty nice weekend.
He did. A guy that I was really interested to see with how he pitched at times last year. Didn't enter in the first 3 games and then absolutely acquitted himself well. Shout out Ryan Harrahill, local product as well, that didn't get a mention earlier on. All right, I've hit my Nick Sainert quota. You've hit your Austin Norman quota.
We're out of here.
Get out of here. I want to see you next week, right? Be gone. Get out of here. Safe travels to Dallas. That's it for Old School. Show's back tomorrow. Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln?